Welcome to the channel, everybody. I am your host, Rainy Rider. Tonight I'm with Dry Heat Doug. Weather's a little messy tonight. We're going to have people trickling in and out all night. So bear with us, but for now you just got me and Dry Heat Doug.
Oh, I'm not boring.
Well, it's just you and me. Usually, man, I've logged on here before. We've had 6 people. I was like, all right, everybody.
I know. Where's everybody at?
Man, it's so Gma wasn't able to come in tonight. I think Kenny Quest was going to come in tonight. We'll have people popping in, and Buck's probably lost in Iowa somewhere. But hopefully we'll get some people in. Hopefully I can get a couple of vets in, because my nephew, who is 14, my grandnephew actually, wants to join the military. Right now he's in ROTC and he's got lots of questions.
He's gonna go in the Navy, right?
Well, he may be. So yeah, obviously that's my thing. So where he's at, the only ROTC is Army, and where I actually graduated from high school, they only had Army, or not Air, they had the CAPS, Civilian Air Patrol. So depending on where you live, you might not have all of the ROTCs available or the Sea Cadets available. So, but they all do the same thing basically to get you ready for the military. So I told him if he comes in tonight, most likely we'd have some military vets in here that he could ask any questions he wanted to, and we would answer them. So let's see who we got in the chat tonight.
We should get Spazzy on. She knows all about how to retire.
Really? I wish I would have known her before I actually retired. So Spazzy, welcome in. Dry Heat Doug's here. 1905 Flyers here. Serenity Kitty. We're Navy strong tonight.
I know.
Dragon Paradox is in. So we got a lot of military people in here. So right now he's trying to talk his mom into letting him on YouTube. So I told him what time it started. She might let him in. We'll see.
You know, that's a question I wanted to ask was, if you're getting 90%, if you've been rated at 90% for VA, and you're getting your retirement check, aren't you tax exempt for that 90%?
Supposedly, so what they, and again, this is civilians who've never served telling me this, but they're like, once you get your retirement, you keep getting the disability, but you only get that kind of cuts in. It's almost like unemployment. It starts cutting into your retirement. And if it's, as far as tax free, I don't even know. I mean, yeah, they're giving me such a runaround. I'm getting my full retirement that. Anyway,
it just seems like a blurry area for everybody. I know a guy that's out of Nevada he's getting his military retirement, and he's at 100%, and he doesn't pay anything for his taxes on that retirement check. Again, it's Nevada, so there's no income tax.
Yeah, I don't think I pay taxes on my disability. So
yeah, on the VA check, I don't have any taxes on that.
I've actually never seen a pay stub. I don't even know. I'm in that gray area. I'm a gray area retiree, so I don't even see the pay stubs. I just see, hey, we've paid you. Cool. Which I guess is the important part. So yeah, you know what? I don't think I pay taxes on it at all. It's a free check.
I'm just glad I got that check on the 29th. It's really helping out right now. I don't want to get into all that, but it's really helping out right now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So anyway, tonight's show until Owen pops in. Oh, by the way, if Owen pops in, guys, we're gonna cut the cursing. So it's a good thing Gma's not on here. All right. So obviously, as soon as Blondie comes in, we might get her in here tonight. So we'll have to slow her down too. But anyway, tonight's show is, being where you are, you probably don't have to worry about this, but things seem to slow down in the winter as far as your bike riding goes and your trips go. I still ride to work every day on the bike when I'm in the winter when it's cold, but I don't take those long trips just because it's Saturday and I'm bored. So it does hawk into it a little bit, and I'll still take some trips. So what we're going to talk about tonight is when it gets cold, how does your riding change? How does your trips change? What do you get the bike if and this is just for the guys who still ride. How's your ride changing? If you're just going to park it up for the winter, no blood, no foul. But this show is more about who is going to keep riding and what the difference is going to be. So, Doug, you're obviously not going to drop a whole lot of, to like ice weather. Sometimes it gets cold there. However, so what's the big changes?
Thicker gloves.
Thicker
For
gloves.
me. Now, you know what? Really, we were talking about that. Was it last week? The new seat that I'm getting for this Fat Boy is it's dual heated. Um, Sometimes I don't want the heater on. She does, and so we're getting a company that's doing the seat that hasn't given me the seat. We're getting them to do separate heaters on it, so she can turn hers on. I can leave mine off. Um, so heated grips, which all the new Harleys in the grip housings, they've got actually a plug for heated grips already there, and heated seats, and really that's all we would ever need here because it doesn't really get that cold in Arizona, unless you're in northern Arizona. It doesn't get that cold down here. I mean, really, it's in maybe the 30s, maybe 5 nights, and that's really it. So under 50, I start getting a little shivery. But then again, I'm acclimated to that 115-degree summer, so I don't like the cold, and I hate snow. So hard to shovel sunshine.
Yeah. I have a niece who, of course, now my entire family grew up in Louisiana, and I'm talking like from like 50 feet up from the Gulf down. Like that's that close to the Gulf. And I have a niece who was like, oh my gosh, I'd love to go up north and it's so nice and I love snow and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, you don't love snow. You like snow when it's on a Hallmark channel. When they're out there in their red mittens and stuff and their, fluffy parka jackets, that's what you like. That's not what snow is like. That may be 5% of the actual snow that you're going to run into. The rest of it's going to be wet and hard and blowing, and you'll be like the old meme is like, my face hurts. Why does the cold make my face hurt? Why can't I feel my nose? That's what real winter is all about. And
Why do my ears hurt?
Yeah. My face shouldn't hurt when I walk outside. But yeah, when I moved to Chicago, it was like, I thought it was bad in Norfolk. Norfolk was a wet cold. And we might maybe get 3 or 4 inches of snow at a time, sometimes 6 if it was really bad. But in Chicago, it was common to go to sleep with like maybe a half inch and a little light dusting and wake up and there's 6, 7 feet of snow. Very common. And it would all come down in minutes. Like you'd blink, get up to go pee, and all of a sudden there's 8 feet of snow on the ground.
It was like
Mr. Ram 550, there's my nephew. Everybody welcome my nephew in and be very polite too. So
yeah, up in Ely, you might get 4 feet overnight. Wake up and go, oh, I guess I'm not going anywhere today. So Ely, Nevada was definitely where the population is, or the elevation's higher than the population.
Yeah, when I lived in Chicago was the first place. I had a Magna when I was up there, and it was the first place I'd ever lived where they said you can't ride your bike in the snow. You can't ride your bike. And it was like, what the hell? Now you had to get on. Let me clarify that. So I lived in Gurnee or Waukegan, Wisconsin, or Waukegan, Illinois, which actually it might as well have been Wisconsin. But yeah, they had no bike season around Chicago. They would not let you get your bike out. Now, if you go up, you went up like Kenosha, a little further up in Milwaukee, you saw motorcycles out in the snow with chains and stuff. But around Chicago, would not allow it. You're not allowed to have chains. Not allowed to have spikes.
Yeah,
and
it's kind of like that in Indiana too. Yeah.
So it was a hard push. So
yeah, it was a weird thing when this is a couple decades ago. In Indiana, I worked for Indiana Department of Transportation, and so I was always on the plow truck doing the roads in Indiana whenever we had storms, and we never used chains on our trucks ever. So I never paid attention to whether it was a law or not. We just never used them on the snow trucks. So kind of weird.
Yeah,
of all the things out there, you're the first one out there. You should probably use chains.
Well, I had a friend that lived up more up on the north side of Kenosha, and they had chain season because it's Kenosha, Wisconsin. The only really road they would plow around there was the highway. They went up toward Milwaukee. Everything else is, good luck. You got some, a Ram 5000 out there trying to plow the snow, and that's what they had. Now, when you get into Kenosha, or you get into Wisconsin, or Illinois, they have these giant, 10-ton trucks, these giant freaking Peterbilts and Max and stuff. That was the snow plows. But up north, they had some, snow chain season, and they had a part of the season where they would say no chains. Okay, once we get less than, 1 inch of accumulation, no more chains, and you couldn't drive them on the main highways. So, all right, what we got here? So, tell me about Spaz, because I have not met Spaz yet. Obviously, he's a friend of yours.
That's Tori. She's my pseudo adopted daughter.
Why is she not in here in the chat with us? This is going to be a military chat, apparently.
She's in the chat. She's just not on video.
She didn't get on video. She's get on the board.
Oh, she'd probably tell you all the terrible things about me.
Good. I have one of those too. She's sitting in the other room.
Yeah, exactly. No, Tori's an awesome person. She's currently married to a Navy guy, and they're just an awesome couple. Really, I've known them for a while. So, but yeah, they're really good people. I don't want to tell all the details, but there's that one guy that you always call when there's something wrong. I don't know. They said I need tires. Okay. My car clicks. Okay.
I actually made a short about that. Everybody says they got a guy.
Yeah, they got a guy for that.
I don't have a guy. Oh wait, I'm that guy.
We're the guy.
Yeah, I'm that guy. And usually so the subdivision I moved into was a brand new subdivision just built. So a lot of people were buying homes that just retired. They're trying to get out of Memphis. So there's a lot of older people, retired people. And the first and second winter here, I was restarting a lot of heat units, a lot of central air units, a lot of water heaters, because and trying to figure out why stuff wouldn't come on, or why their lights wouldn't come on, or putting in light switches that the developers didn't put in when they built the house. So I was all over this place. So it was all over the place. She says I call them dad questions.
Pretty much.
Goodness. So anyway, back to our theme. So this will be the first winter that I'm going to use heated gloves.
Oh, really?
And I put them on Monday on the way to work. It was the first time I'd actually used them because it got down to like 34. And I had them on low, and they were hot all the way to work. I'm like, these actually are pretty, because they're actually, so they're by, I can't remember the name of the company, RZR, but they do off-road four-wheelers and snowmobiles and stuff. So they're made for much lower temperatures than this. So I don't think I'm going to have any problems staying warm this winter. Usually, I don't think I have.
I went cheap when I did actually have a pair of heated gloves, and I went cheap with them. I think I only paid like maybe $30 for them, but they were garbage. They never worked right. It's like they should have come with an instruction manual or something. They were just a pain in the butt to use. I used them. They never heated. They never actually turned on. So I just used them as regular gloves for a while. And now I have no idea where they're at. They were that useless.
MSR, that's the name of the gloves, MSR. And they're $200 gloves. And because it was the beginning of season sale, of course, they got all their stock in early and probably had to make room for more. So they're probably trying to get rid of last year's. But I mean, last year's gloves that are brand new are still brand new gloves. So, and they're very comfortable. They're awesome. I still need to stretch them out a little bit. So it's gonna be a good winter. Yeah, all this week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, it was like Monday was like 34, Tuesday was like 38, Wednesday was 42, and then yesterday and today weren't too bad. Yesterday, I went to work with my thermal pants on, my overpants, and then the jacket with the hoodie, and then the thermal liner with my heavy jacket. Today, I had my heavy jacket with the liner in it and a t-shirt and my regular jeans. And my top was still too hot. So it was 54 going into work today.
How were your shoes? Because you wear Steve's Indy Ridge shoes, right?
They were, so yeah, I'm not wearing the perforated ones. I wore the new Apaches.
And the toes don't get too cold on those?
No, especially with that, I got that M8 engines with the floorboards. and I have the aftermarket, what they call the Willy Wings.
Okay.
And they extend the fairing down about another 3 inches, and 3 inches out, probably 12 inches down, and that's perfect to blow the wind off of you and put your feet on the floorboards right under your freaking block. Feet stay nice and warm.
Oh, you're getting asked, what bike do you ride?
I ride a 2023 Harley Davidson Street Glide.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I'm on pretty much the same bike, but it's the Electra Glide, and then I've got this anniversary edition, or this whatever limited edition Fat Boy, and a couple of BMWs, the 1200 RTs. I like the 1200 RTs. They deflect a lot of wind. So yeah, they're actually, I think the 1200 RTs are better for anything cold, and you know why? Everything's heated on that thing, you know. So
Yeah.
with the exception of like a dash heater blowing at you, it's got everything else.
Well,
so
funny enough, so the last 6 years I've driven that BMW, that was my winter bike. This bike is actually better in the rain, and it's better in the wind. It actually keeps my feet warmer because there's somewhere to put your feet. So
well, yeah, that's what
crazy.
year is your Street Glide again?
23.
And does that have the new the all the settings, the rain settings?
It has rain settings, which I found the rain setting by accident. So I was trying to set the traction control, and when I hit it, a little blue rainstorm showed up, a little blue cloud with a little rain, and I'm like, that must be rain mode. And so cool, too cool.
Yeah, you know that limited edition Fat Boy, that the new one, River 2025. It had that setting on there, kind of blew me away. I've never had a bike that's new before, and I mean the newest one I've got, I think, is that 2015 Electra Glide, and it doesn't have it on there, so that's it. What you got's what you got. You're sliding. So.
Oh yeah, it's even got hill assist. It's got what I love it. I found it by accident too. Just like just like on the BMW, I found it by accident too, because I got a fistful of oh shit brake, and it came on. I was like, oh look, parking assist, or front brake hold. And best thing ever, especially if you guys are shy around hills, that hill assist, or what they call brake hold, is awesome, because you can totally let the brake go and then give it all the throttle without having to balance. Because on the Sportster, you got to balance the brake with the throttle and try to hang out with your pinky a little bit with the brake and then try to slip into the throttle. With that hill assist, peaches, man. You slide right in. You basically give it throttle and let the clutch out till you overcome the front brake, and then you take off. Love it. Around here in Mississippi, there's a lot of hills. There ain't a whole lot of mountains, but there's a lot of hills.
Yeah.
And at the top of every hill, there's a red light.
Yeah. What's the point of that? Jeez.
Well, yeah, I think most of the hills around here are built or man-made for to keep the Mississippi on the other side of the hill. So that's why, yeah. And you got to stop when you get to the top of the hill, just where you'll look and make sure the other side of the hill is not flooded. That's all I'm going to say about that. All right, so Owen is my nephew. How many of you guys out there are military? Chime off in the comments and tell me how many of you guys are military. Because Owen's got a few questions about being in the military. He is in JROTC right now, and he's got lots of questions. Hasn't quite made up his mind on the branch yet. Obviously, I want him to go Navy. There's a lot of Navy guys in the chat because I collect Navy friends. Go figure. But I've got a few Army ones too. A couple of Marines. I'm nothing against them. Sick bastard, welcome in.
I think it all depends. What is his end game goal?
To be cool.
Where does he want to
go? So, Navy.
Well, but seriously, what's his end game goal? I was talking to the one son. Both of them, the boys are active duty, and the one that's in the Air Force. I asked him. I said, so what's your end game when you're done with your time in service, whether you retire or just end your enlistment? What are you going to do? And he goes, whatever my degree will let me do. And then, the one in the Army, it's kind of a different story there. It's got, and the Navy's kind of the same way. It's really hard to get a degree in the Navy because of op tempo of what you're doing, as you know, there's a lot of long days,
Yep.
and it's a little more difficult with communications to be away and do a degree. So it's really the end game. You know, where are you hoping to be in 20 years, and what do you want?
Yeah, I got 2 credits in English literature and forgot about them because basically I was working a 16-hour Navy day, plus trying to sleep, plus trying to get my ESWA signed off and go to an hour of school every night.
Wow.
And I would just kind of squeeze it in wherever I could. And I was doing my classes. I was doing a lot of them late, and I was just turning my stuff in. And one day they're like, "Oh, hey, you got to come take your quiz. You missed your test." I was like, "What?" "Yeah, you got to come take your test." "Oh, okay. It's over already? Really?" Went took my test, got my 2 credits. I'm like, "Okay, well that was easy." Well, it wasn't, but
Well, you know, a lot of that stuff you can clip out of a lot of classes. Clip is a nice system in the military where you kind of go at your own pace if people don't know about it. You go at your own pace. You test out of those classes, and you turn in those transcripts later to get credit for them when you go to a university or any college.
yep.
So,
I've got so many. Even before I came back into the reserves, my cool transcript, I had credits in everything, and I got my. You had your cool transcript, and then I can't remember what they call the other transcripts. It basically says you've got these credits. This is what you should do. Here's the degree you should get. And I called University of Phoenix, and they're like, "Okay, we used to need to take 8 credits in this," and I'm like, "Okay, so I need 8 more credits." They're like, "Well, no, you need 2 more credits, but we're not going to sell you just 2 credits. You got to take 8." I'm like, "All right, well, what if I take this class?" "Oh, well, you need,
you get
6 credits in this." And I'm like, "Oh, I need 6 credits?" "Well, no, you have all the credits, but we just can't give them to you. You've got to take a class. You've got to take some electives, and you have to make some other stuff." And I'm like, "Well, that's kind of ridiculous. Why do I got to take, industrial underwater basket weaving to get my, my firefighting chemistry degree? Or why do I have
Yeah.
to, do this to get my, mechanical arts degree?" And it was dumb stuff, but it was like, they're not just going to give it to you no matter. And I was like, "I'll just pay for it. I don't want to have to go to all these classes." And they're like, "No, you can't do that." So it was absolutely ridiculous. I love the idea of being able to do all your credits and stuff from doing your courses in the military, but the extra crap they make you do to get your degrees is ridiculous because they just want to make money.
Yep. After kind of the similar situation after the classes that I ended up taking for my current job, which they're all certified classes, that in combination with my transcripts from the 3 different colleges I went to, we took it to 2 different universities that were friendly to us. And it was at the time they said, well, it was one was $3,500 and one was $3,800 for acceptance, and then they were just going to hand the doctorate. It was like, okay, well, I guess you guys think I'm smarter than I really am, so alrighty then.
It's
But
funny though when you see like all the stuff you do in the Navy. Like so I started as a nuke. I wanted to be an electrician, which by far, God, I got everything I needed to be an electrician. But the stuff they give you is not like, okay, they're not teaching you to be an electrician like in the outside world. Because I've taken electrical classes on the outside, and they're like, we're going to teach you enough where you can go in the book and find out the rest. Well, the Navy's not like that. Because the Navy, when you're out in the middle of the field and your generator breaks down and you've got to rewire it from scratch, you don't have a book to go by. Because that book is probably back in HHQ. You've got to memorize it by in every schematic you draw, every pipe diagram you draw, every flow diagram is from memory. Because you have to be able to recall it from memory. So you come out of a military class much smarter than coming out of a civilian class. Because
we should write a book about Navy electrical and just call it The Art of the Jumper. How to fix any generator or any system on a Navy ship.
well,
The Art of the Jumper.
so funny story. So in '93, so on the ship we had consoles, and the PLC, the propulsion control console, had lamp drivers in it. And these lamp driver cards were $1,200 a piece, and we'd blow through about one a week. So we'd pull the battle spare, replace it. So we had this chance to go to a class called Golden Circle, I think it was called. It was basically where you could test a card, see what's wrong with it, and then repair it. So it was a soldering class and then this repair class.
Yeah.
Well, what we found out was these Zener diodes were blowing, and so we had tried to get them through Navy Supply, and they couldn't get them. And so I'm like, let's just see if Radio Shack has them. So I went to Radio Shack and bought a bag of 10 for like $3, went back and restored 10 cards with this little Zener diode for $1. And so I was a champion all of a sudden. I was the smartest guy in the world, and I got an AM for that for repairing these boards. So
color coding on diodes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I had to learn your rings, learn your color rings. Yeah. Absolutely. So
that's actually a big thing that kind of crosses over, and it doesn't seem like it, but that crosses over to bikes too. Yeah. You know, you're out in the middle of nowhere and something goes wrong, you know, with your electrical system and nothing's working right, and you're like, okay, well, I can just do this. You know, I'll just rig this right over to the solenoid, and I get this thing started right now. You know,
there's a lot to be said for being mechanically inclined and having, you know, just being able to see the wheels turn in your head, and that's any mechanic can do that. But I'm going to tell you right now, the Navy, you learn this stuff while you're sleeping, because a lot of times when they wake you up at 2 o'clock in the morning because something's broke, you're going to fix something and still be half asleep doing it. And you can do it so well you can't actually do it in your sleep, because sometimes you do.
They don't care how it's done. They just want it to work. We'll get it correct later. You know.
Spaz said, I wanted medical, and Navy had the best in medical training, for example. Well, I wanted to be an electrician, still got medical training, also got heavy weapons training, also got, you know, gunfire site training, also got torpedo training. I got every training you could possibly get, because you have to. You're a master of what was it, jack of all trades, master of half of them, because that's how the Navy works. Army, when a unit goes out, you've got, you know, 1,000 guys that go out on deployment. The Navy goes out, you go out on a team, you 16, 32, 64, at the most maybe 80 guys that go out. And when you go out on your convoys and stuff and on your tours, you might only have 7 guys, 8 guys with you. And the guy that's your driver is also your turret gunner, is also your generator mechanic, you know, is also your navigator. You learn every job, because at any one time you might be doing all those jobs and be the only one that can do them.
Yeah, that's the Air Force kid. I can't really get into everything he does, but he does a lot, and it's really cool. and half of it I don't think he's allowed to talk about. For medical stuff, yeah, Spasbury and her husband, definitely. They are the expert for everything on medical stuff. They're what do they call them? What do they call a pecker checker?
A corpsman. A hospitalman.
They all have nicknames, you know.
All right, Owen, what are you actually planning on to do? So if you want to be an officer, you have to go into some line. So what do you want to do?
Oh, that'll take 30 seconds because of the delay.
Oh, Marines and sailors don't get anything due? I disagree.
Yeah, it depends. Depends on where you're at.
If you get a boring job, you still get new stuff.
If you get anything special, if you get any kind of special warfare group, then yeah, you've got money and you can get anything new.
Yeah, I was the armorer for my last 2 deployments, and
yeah,
we went to inspect the guns, and I said I don't like them. I want new M9s, and we got new M9s. Went out to inspect the M16s. I said I don't like them. We want the M4s, and they gave us M4s. It all comes down to what your supply officer or what your armorer is able to finagle. And I hate to say it's kind of like radar on MASH, but yeah, you can hold out and get good stuff.
Yeah, they have the special places have stupid money. I was attached, definitely not an operator, but I was attached to a group in the Gulf that deployed with them, Team 5 Det Foxtrot, and we my mechanic and I were working on a truck. There's a trick with glow plugs. It's a whole long story. I'm not going to get into all that. We're working on this pickup truck that supplied, that took care of, just needs for the team. And their OIC comes walking over on the second day and says, "What are you guys doing?" Because we're just Seabees, He says, "What are you guys doing?" I said, "We're fixing this truck. You guys are going to need it for this op that's coming up tomorrow. We got to have this truck ready for you guys." And he goes, "Do you see those guys over there?" And it's all the team guys. And he goes, "They're just sitting around. They're not doing anything." He goes, "You guys didn't run this morning, so they're not running." But if you go run, they're going to go run further than you guys run because they got to outdo you. They can't let a couple of CBs, outdo them anything physically. So they're going to run. And I said, well, we got to get this truck going. I mean, I'll go for a run later, but we got to. He goes, F the truck. I'll get another truck. Go run. So we changed out, went and run. 26 hours later, 3 brand new pickup trucks showed up on the transport. That's the stupid money they've got. He's like, don't work on it. Go run. We got to get these guys exercising.
I did the same thing in Coronado. So I was in a Master Arms unit, and we were stationed in what was it? Willow Springs, Missouri.
Okay. Oh, wait, Missouri?
Or hang on.
Weldon
Springs.
Weldon Springs. I was going to say, Willow Springs is a whole different
Weldon
story.
Springs. So we had gone for our 3 weeks down because we had to go do some training with some of the, what they call now, they used to call it Maritime Interdiction. Now they call it VBSS, Vacation Bible School. Yeah. So we went down to the training. So they put us in the officers' barracks in Coronado. Well, one of the guys who used to be in my unit had become a SWIC instructor. So he was down, had the guys in the water with their little paddles and their little lifeboats and stuff, and he had them out running. So I come running around because I was still running, twice a day because you were required. And he goes, "Oh my God, that dude's a yeoman. I know that guy. That dude's going to outrun you guys. Catch him." And I'm like, you didn't just do that. And so I could hear those boots chasing. I could hear the guys breathing. I could hear their oars start slapping the ground. They're like, "Oh my God, he's going to get away from you. What the hell's wrong with you guys? He's a yeoman." And so I just took off running. He goes, "Oh my God, that yeoman's leaving you in the dust." And so I went ahead and finished my run. And I came back, and I was back at the BOQ. And I walked over there, and I was like, "What the hell's wrong with you, man?" He goes, "Oh, I knew I could motivate him if I told him you were a desk jockey." But yeah, same thing. So Owen's asking what's actually available. He says he's been promoted, got his dress blues. Hell yeah. Yeah, you want an actual job. So let's say if you want to be in the Marines. So here, I'm not going to knock the Marines. There's a lot of smart people in the Marines. But here's the problem with the Army and the Marines. You've got probably half the people don't know how to do anything but shoot a gun and get shot. They don't learn any cognitive skills, nothing you can take to the outside unless you feel like mopping or if you want to be private security somewhere. If you want to do good stuff in the Army or the Marines, learn a skill. Learn an equipment operator skill, learn to work on engines, learn to fly. Learn to do something that's not basic infantry. And the Marines aren't as bad as the Army, but they're still Marines. All they know how to do is be a rifleman. So make sure you learn an actual skill, not just infantry, not just a ground pounder, not just field artillery. Learn an actual skill. So electrician.
If you want to be an equipment operator, go in the Navy. Be an equipment operator in the Navy because you'll learn everything with wheels and tracks, whereas the Marine Corps and the Army are going to put you in one vehicle or
you'll be specialized,
an alternative vehicle, and that's all you're going to ever get. So it takes a while to get those jobs built up. If you go in the Navy as an equipment operator, you will fill out probably, I had like 5 different cards that were full of everything that I operated. So yeah. Yep. Everything with wheels and tracks.
You could be a cook in the Navy and become an equipment operator, because anything you want to learn, they'll teach you. Because
and that's the thing too. Even as a cook, in the Navy, they'll send you after your first enlistment. They'll send you to a school to become a chef. I mean, you'll come out as a chef, be able to just go far with that. And there's a lot of guys that do it.
Yeah. You're going to learn, again, I'm not trying to knock the Marines, you're going to learn a lot more transferable skills in the Navy. In the Air Force, you just learn to whine and cry and complain about your beds not being soft enough. But
I wouldn't say, it depends on your job in the Air Force too. That's another thing. You might be the guy that's in the aircraft that's targeting boats. I'm not going to say how I know that. So, there's some jobs that they treat them a lot different. And it's like the Navy too. They treat you a lot different when you do them. And the Air Force, if you want an education, I'd say that's the one to go to. If you want a good, comfortable place to sleep every single night, that's the one to go to.
But progression is very hard. However, there's a whole lot of 20-year E4s in the Air Force.
Depends on the job.
But they're still there.
Depends on the job.
They're still there.
So,
Now, if you're aircraft, you promote pretty quickly working aircraft in the Air Force, obviously for obvious reasons. But I do like to rub. Yeah, I do like to rub in the Air Force's face that the Navy still has more airplanes than the Air Force does.
Yeah, in the Air Force, if it says airborne before your job title, then yeah, you're one of the ones that are treated a little bit different. So that's in the Air Force.
I would even say air in the Navy is treated special. Brown shoes in the Navy, boy, they're some prima donnas.
Yeah, different breed.
Yeah,
That's a different breed.
I mean, I had a tough job. You had a tough job, but we never got turned down for anything we wanted.
Well, the only difference between most of those jobs and what we were doing was, tonight you don't know where you're going to be sleeping tonight. You might be, 20 miles away from everybody, 100 miles away from everybody, and they're, okay, we're shutting it down for the night, and you're on watch. Oh, okay, I guess we're in the field for now. You never know. The good part about, I don't really want to get into depth, but the good part about the last few years of my service, I wasn't with a CB battalion, I was with different groups, and that was quick deployments. We get a notice, we'd go to the base, show up, they'd fly us out. We'd go somewhere, do an operation, be done in like a day, 3 days, 4 days, and fly back and be done. So I didn't have to do the ship. The only time I ever had to do the ship stuff was when the Marine Corps kidnapped me. I did an OPFOR assessment on the 11th MEU and on the 13th MEU, and I kind of did it too well, so they brought me with them. I learned not to do things too good. Got kind of suck a little bit at it so they don't bring you with on their deployments.
Dude, I couldn't. My last overseas deployment, I went over as the Prisoner Services Branch Chief. Well, I went over as the Guard Commander. And when we got there, we had a CO, an XO, a psych officer, and a medical officer. We had 2 chiefs that were supposed to deploy with us. One of the chiefs got medically discharged while we were still in training at Fort Leonard Wood, or no, not Leonard Wood, we were at Fort Sill. And the other one, disappeared one day, never came back. So it was me and 2 of the first classes, and they're like, all right, well, you guys are going to share top. You guys are going to share being, the sergeant first class, which we were training in the Army, so everything was, they wouldn't let us use military ranks. They kept calling our commanding officer major, and he's like, you better drop that shit. But and the funny thing was, we got anything we wanted. I remember we were supposed to go out for our bivouac, so they put us up on what they call fob moe, and they gave us a green tent with the kerosene heater in it. And it was January, and so my CO was an ex F-14 pilot. So this was my second Army workup to deploy, and he said, so what should we expect? And I was like, well, it's going to be cold. We got to set a fire watch, because somebody got to stay up all night with this kerosene heater. He said, I said, is this what we're going to do overseas? I said, no, overseas we're going to have a double layered tent, and it's the coldest it's going to be is in the middle of January. It might get down to, mid 30s, 40. I said, we're never going to have this. I said, I don't know why they're sending us through this. I said, but this isn't even the tents we're going to have. We're going to have tents over there. They're going to have forced air. We're not going to have this. And so he said, well, this said this is what we're going to have, blah, blah, blah. Well, on the 5th day, we've been sleeping in these tents for 5 days, and it's like 10, 15 degrees every night. He looks over, and they're rolling in the new field artillery guys. They're setting their tents up on a concrete slab in this 20-man tent, double layered, and they rolled up these air units and parked them outside, these diesel generators. And he goes, what are those? And I said, those are diesel air units. He goes, for what? I said, that's what's going to keep their tent warm. He goes, pack up the trucks. We're out of here. And we packed our shit out of the tents, threw them on the trucks, and drove back to our barracks. Well, the major shows up, and he goes, you guys just can't leave the fob. He says, no, we're going to do all the ops from the barracks now. This is bullshit. We're not doing this. Yeah. And he got his way. But, you guys, like you're saying, I could never not do my best. So on that last deployment, we went over there. We didn't have any chiefs, so basically I took over as chief prison services branch. The other girl took over as chief admin, and at the end of that deployment, she was actually on loan from active duty. They had to send her back to San Diego, and they're like, "Hey, look, what do you think about extending?" I said, "I really don't want to." And they're like, "Well, extend to the next deployment." He says, "I really don't have any holes right now." He says, we've got 2 new guys coming in. Let's extend you for about 2 months, and when the new two new chiefs get in, once you get them trained up, we can send you back. So we go to their training. We meet them in Fort Sill. We do a partial turnover there. There was like 4 of us there to help with the transition. Fly back to Kuwait. Wait for them to show up. They'd never show up. The unit shows up. We get them in their tents, and I'm like, "What the hell's going on?" I said, "Where's Chief so and so?" And they're like, "Oh, he went home for his I-stop," which I-stop in the Army is once your training is done. If you finish your training, and let's say that you still got 2 weeks of the training left, because that's how the Army does it. It's very weird. They don't have we're going to train this every day. They're like, "Here's all the things we have to train, and once you're done, you're on I-stop, and you just wait for your ship date." Well, he goes home on his ship date, on his I-stop, and tries to break up 2 dogs that are fighting. He got 2 of his fingers bit off. So they put him in med hold. So now I'm extended indefinitely. Go through that deployment. At the end of that deployment, the new CO is trying to talk me into staying. He goes, "Well, come on, man. This would be great for you, man. You're a shoe-in for chief if you stay." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to stay."
They were being nice.
Well, I'm telling my wife, and let's say this is April 1st. And I'm like, "I don't really want to do this." And she's like, "Well, it's not that. You're flying these." And at that time, I was flying prisoners home about once a month. So once a month, I'd be able to go home and spend like 3 or 4 days with her and then fly back. And I'm like, "Fine, I'll do it." So I go to sign the paperwork on like April 15th. The paperwork was signed in March 15th, a month before. They had already extended me. They were just trying to make me feel bad about staying.
Yeah, they were being nice.
Yeah. So
Mine wasn't as nice. Mine was a little bit different. It was a thing called an involuntary extension, I think is what they called it. I called it something else. And they can do that for 179 days. But the trick is, when you say, "Man, I only got a couple weeks left," they go, "Oh, on the 179th day, you get another 179 days."
Well, the ship did that to me. We had an at-sea inspection that was coming up, and they're like, "Why don't you extend for the OPI, his operational propulsion exam?" And I said, "No." He's like, "Well, we're probably going to hold you anyway," because I was an EPSI operator, I was lead the lead generator mechanic, and I was pack operator qualified. And they're like, "We're going to need you for this." And I'm like, "No, I don't think so." Because we're going to probably extend you anyway. And I said, "I know." He goes, "Well, why don't you volunteer to extend? And then when we get the OPI and we score well, you can get an inter-deployment NAM. You're going to look really good, and you'll go to your next station with a NAM waiting for you when you get there." And I said, "Well, whatever happens on this operation, something's going to happen. I'm going to save the ship, and I'm going to get a NAM anyway. So why should I volunteer?" And he goes, "Yeah, but we're going to extend you anyway." And I said, "Yes, but if I extend myself and volunteer on the 3rd day when I haven't slept in 3 days, I'm going to hate myself. If you extend me on the 3rd day when I haven't slept in 3 days, I can hate you." He goes, "You got a point." This is the chief engineer. He goes, "Yeah, you got a point." So, and that's exactly what happened.
All changes are about the same.
Yep. Yep.
Oh my God. You were riding when you were active duty. I know with me it was probably about the same. The only trick that I did was I peeled this. I didn't want the sticker to, the whatever on
the base sticker
to etch. Yeah, the base sticker to etch into the chrome on the bike. So I very carefully heated it up and peeled it off and stuck it on a double-sided magnet, which we weren't allowed to do. And I would just slap it on the tank and then peel it off. I'd drive on base with it, I'd peel it off, throw it in my pocket on the way home.
Oh, I didn't care. I had a Honda Magna, and they put it on the windshield. And that was the old ones that where when they started flying off, it broke into like little bitty pieces, little bitty diamonds. And it would and you would always end up getting it eyes would get under it somehow, and it start flaking off, and it was like glitter flying through the air. You'd have like half your sticker, but there's enough of it left there. As long as there was enough left to see the numbers on it and the color, you were fine.
The trick is you got to use a clear, a glossy tape, but not super glossy, just a clear tape over it, and then slowly heat it to peel it off. Very slowly heat it to peel it off, and you can stick it right on a magnet. Don't ever do that though, because that's wrong.
That's wrong. Yeah.
Serious look.
Don't do this. I'm being a bad example, just so you'll learn.
Yeah. Anybody wants the book of bad ideas? I'm writing it. Chapter 1.
Yeah. Oh, it says I was voluntold. Yes.
One of the good things that came out of writing it, while I was active duty, is I would have never taken an MSF course. I would have never taken them. And I had been riding before I went into service. And of course, to ride on base, you had to take the class. They paid for it. And I was like, all right, I'll just go do it. And I learned so much from that class. I was like, shoot, there's tricks that I never even thought of, that these instructors like, hey, push down on this handlebar. Don't try to turn. Don't lean and just hold it. He said, watch, you get into a bad situation. You're going into a curve. Just push down on that grip, not turn, push down. And you're going to complete that curve so much better. And I was like, he goes, don't do that here. You're already scraping when you turn, because I did it on a Heritage Softail. So kind of not, I wouldn't recommend doing any qualification testing for MSF on a 800-pound bike. but when you do, you get to scrape a lot.
I did. So the first one we did on Honda Rebels in Norfolk. And back then it was like, you take it once and you're good forever. Well, then once I got to St. Louis, they're like, oh no, now it's required every 3 years. So I'm like, all right. So I went to the Gateway Harley Davidson in St. Louis, and it was free to military, and you took it on your own bike, because I was taking the advanced course. So I took it on a Honda Sabre. And I remember like, oh my God, all these big ass Harleys, man, they're going to show me up. I said, I got to be a badass. And so at that time I was probably, so let's see, it would have been 05. So I've been riding probably 25 years by then. And so I was like, all right, I can do this. So I get out there, no, maybe 20 years. But so I get out there and I'm trying to hot dog everything, and I go to lock up the brakes, and I go to downshift, and I'm skidding the back tire. And the instructor was like, you don't need to be doing that. Take your time. I said, well, I don't want to get embarrassed with all these Harleys here. And he's like, dude, he goes, Harleys aren't performance machines. They're there to get you from this coast to that coast as comfortably as possible. He goes, they're not performance machines. And at that time, I think the biggest bike you could get was maybe a 103. And so it was like 80 horsepower. Your Sabre's going to leave them in the dust. So I lit up a little bit. But so the second one I took was the advanced course. The next one I took, I had the BMW. I had the R1100 RT. So I took the sport bike riders course. The next one I took in Millington, and I took it on. I took it on the BMW too, and I did the touring course. Well, come time to take another one after another 3 years, and they're like, "Hey, you never took your basic course." And I said, "Yeah, I did. I took my basic course." And by this time, it's 2016. I said, "I took it in 1992." And they're like, "Well, there's no record of it." And I was like, "Yeah, because there's no computer records in 1992. Everything was in my service record." He goes,
"Yeah, it's all paper record."
Well, we don't have you got to take a basic course. And I'm like, "Do you not see in my service record that I've taken 4 classes since then?"
Yeah, they won't let you take the other classes unless you've done the basic.
Well, this guy is like, "No, basics." And this is one of these training guys. They made some E4 a training officer. And he's like, "No, you need to take this." I'm like, whatever. So they get me out there, and I take it on a Buell Blast. And I'm like, what the hell? And the bike kept falling over, man. The whole bike was twisted because it had been dropped so many times. And I'm like, dude, I can't hold this stupid bike up. This thing is it's like riding a fucking tricycle. Oh, excuse my French, y'all. But but the instructor's like, tell you what. He says, "You got your bike here?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Bring your bike out here." He let me take the rest of the basic course on my bike. But it was like, he's like, there's no reason for you to step down to this bike.
Yeah.
I did learn a lot of things. Like I said, riding that blast, I had to relearn a lot of basic skills because you can't wait for that torque and the power to pull you out of a corner or pull you out of a fall like you can on a big bike. So it was good.
When I went to my second command, which was group over on the beach side of the Amphib base in Coronado, different group. I had they pointed that out too. I was riding on base, and the command pointed out. They were like, they said the same. You haven't taken the basic course, and I said, yes, I have. I got my card somewhere. I'll just find it and show you. Now, didn't find it. I had no proof, nothing other than just that. I guess base security had it on file when I originally got my sticker, but they didn't have it anymore, and so they were kind of pushing it. And I realized, wait a minute, why am I fighting this? They're gonna pay me. They're gonna pay me for a few days to go down and ride bikes. Okay, I'll go do that again.
They're gonna pay me, give me a free T-shirt, and buy me lunch. I'm all about this.
Yeah, shoot, man, I would like to have been one of the instructors down there.
They were looking for instructors here, and I was like, that's too much time to designate to it. So Owen's asking,
I wanted to just that's my whole job.
Yeah. He says, during your service, did you have a drill platoon? Every unit had a drill platoon. But here's the funnier thing. Once you got in, when I got to the ship, not only did the ship have a dress corps, but they also had a soccer team. They had a ship's band that I was the singer in. They had a basketball team. What else did they have?
Yeah, our
They had a bowling team, a bowling league.
Didn't really have anything drill on once I got on the beach side of the base, but on the bay side we had a drill team, and then they did everything. We had one group they were the gun tossers, and another group was the flag guys, and it was just a whole thing. But it just depends on what group you're with or what command you're with. Once you get into the group stuff, they don't have that kind of thing really. It's a pretty big op tempo, and everything gets canceled, so they just don't do it. Or at least we didn't do it at the time. It's decades later now for me, so I don't know what they do now. I did have something. My son asked me something that the one in the Air Force said, and some of you are going to get this, some of you are not. But when I first went active duty, so he's asking me when he's about to go in, and he says, "Dad, what did they have you do with your cell phones?" So I called him a little trucker, but it wasn't truck.
Yeah.
Little bastard, what the hell do you mean? We didn't have cell phones. There was one phone, the whole building. Whole barracks had one phone. And you weren't allowed to use it. So you could use it one time. Call mom and dad. That was it.
We had a phone center. You could go down every Sunday. You line up and wait for your 5 minutes to use the phone. Had to call mom and dad, collect.
Yep.
And
you learned. You get the basics out. I'm fine. Everything's good. I'm healthy.
Bye.
And I miss you. That's it. I miss you. I love you. I'm healthy. Okay. Everything after that's just fluff.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that. We had the one call. You could call one time, and it was 1 minute to let them know I'm here. This sucks, and I'm alive. And then there was 2 weeks before graduation. They let us use the phone for that 5 minutes to let them know, okay, graduation, you got to write this down because only 5 minutes. Graduation's at this time. They're going to send you something. Just follow that. If you want to come to see graduation, then come see graduation. All right. Love you. That's it.
We had, when you first got to boot camp, they gave you a ditty bag that had soap and a single blade razor, shampoo, shaving cream. And then after the 4th week, you had exchange days and you take your little chits. Remember, did you have book chits? Basically, You don't have money. You have colored pieces of paper that you bring to the exchange and you buy things with. So you could buy the soap you wanted, and you could buy the shaving cream you wanted, and you could buy the razors you wanted. But that was like after the 4th week.
Yeah, and it was special.
Yeah.
It was like, finally, I get what I want.
We're coming back, and they march you through like a bunch of kindergartners. You start on aisle 1, and they're like, aisle 1's this, aisle 2's this, aisle 3, and then they like march you in a serpentine through the line, through the store, and you grab the things you wanted, and you all stayed in that line and went to the registers, and then mustered back up outside. I will remember that forever because everybody's like, "Oh my God, look what I got! Look what I got! Look, I got shampoo! Look, I got Halsa! Look, I got this! It smells like it, you know." And I will never forget the company commander came through and goes, "Yeah." He says, "I could tell you guys went to the exchange because now the whole damn bathroom smells like a fruit salad." Yeah, good time. I remember, yeah, we got cookies. My mom sent me cookies in boot camp, and she had packed them in popcorn. And when I got them, I finally got them, the cookies had like disintegrated to powder. But the popcorn was all still there. There were like 4-gallon bags of popcorn in there. So we're all around eating popcorn because the cookies, like I said, were like dust. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to try to eat that in the middle of this floor. I'm going to just make a mess. And then I'll have to clean it up.
I got sent Listerine, and I didn't, I was like, they're open because you open it in front of them. Remember, you have to open in front of them. They look and inspect, and like, your parents suck, or whatever. Your relative sucks. They sent you freaking a toothbrush, toothpaste, and Listerine. Oh man, and then they find somebody that's got food we can distribute and eat ourselves. So then I was, I'm looking at it kind of disappointed. I'm like, oh man, well, this sucks. And I appreciate that something got sent to me. And so the next morning, I'm in there scrubbing my teeth real quick, and I go to swish my mouth out with the good Listerine, and then I realized that is some really strong Listerine. And I was like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, that just tastes like vodka with food coloring in it. And then I realized, oh hell, I've got some great relatives, and the whole barracks loved it.
Oh yeah. So. When I went back to instruct up in Great Lakes, they had saline mouthwash. It was non-alcoholic. And I can't remember. I think it was a Bausch and Lomb even. It was like, it tastes like salt water. But they wouldn't let them have alcoholic mouthwash anymore in boot camp. Probably because so many of them were getting toasted on real mouthwash.
Well, when they send straight up vodka and just put food coloring in it, yeah. We were all feeling no pain. We slept really good.
Dude, I love boot camp. I thought it was the best part of my military experience because I came from, when I lived with my mom, I lived on a farm. You're getting up, even on the weekends, you got to get up early and feed the pigs and feed the rabbits, and you had to slaughter pigs and slaughter rabbits. When I lived with my dad, you lived on the bayous, so you had some free time, but, school days, you had to get up early in the morning, run out, run fish nets, come back in, package all the fish, then get ready for school. Then when you got back from school, you had to run out and do the nets again. So when I got to boot camp, and I had to cook for myself because, I joined boot camp and I was like, okay, I don't have to get up until 5. Hang on, somebody's going to cook for me?
No kidding.
Hold on a second. This ain't too bad.
The only real issue that I had with boot camp was, I went to Great Lakes. So I left San Diego at the end of December, and I show up in Great Lakes right there at the beginning of January at Great Lakes, Illinois. And I don't know if anybody knows Great Lake, Illinois, other than maybe you, because you were stationed there, I think, for a while. In January, there's no grass. It's just snow and ice. And going from San Diego to there, no, that sucked. And then what made it even worse was there's 2 galleys, so there's 2 cafeterias. People don't know, 2 galleys set up. One's on one end of the base and one's on the other. And the day after I showed up, the one on our side of the base, they closed it for renovation. So we had to march all the way to the other side up by the front gate to go to the freaking galley. So yeah, it was a good 30-minute skull crushing march up there. And I say skull crushing because there was a lot of ice. So we had a few coconuts get cracked, marching ourselves up there.
Oh, under that bridge, when you walk under the one you're supposed to sing anchors away as you go under the bridge.
Go to either side,
that one was always full of ice.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully nothing fell either.
Owen's asking if the Marines have the hardest boot camp. Probably do, as far as physical wise. Here's the funny thing. So in the Navy, you actually had physical. You got up every morning and PT'd, and then you went to school all day. So you actually had to learn history of the Navy. They had math classes. They had distinguishing, you had to distinguish everybody's ranks and stuff. You're in class all day in the Navy. So it depends. I guess it's your thing. And then you still had to go, PT in the afternoon. So I could never realize, I could never figure out how people could get to the end of boot camp and not pass their PT tests. But somehow there was always somebody who did.
When you come out of boot camp, no matter what branch of service, and you come out of boot camp, you are in the best physical condition of your life.
Yep.
Really. You might be lighter. I was about 40 pounds lighter. When I first went into boot camp, I was 215 pounds and I had a 6% body fat. So I was in really good shape. When I came out of boot camp, I was probably still around 6% body fat, but I was 168 pounds. So I was just leaner. That was the difference. And then 4 months later, I bulked back up to 200 again. So that was a different scenario for me. When I went to boot camp, Navy boot camp, you learn all that stuff. And then I went to CBA school in Gulfport, Mississippi. And the first thing they tell you there is, hey, everything you learned, yeah, you're not doing that. So we do everything double time. There is no just slow walking or marching. You run everywhere you go. And there's 2 schools in the Navy where they can physically fix you, is what they call it, physically fix you. It means they can do whatever they want to you. And there's only 2 schools in the Navy where you can drop on request, and that was one of them. The other ones you got to fail out of to get out of them, and then you're going to be a bosun's mate or a quartermaster.
I went to boot camp in Orlando because I was going to be a nuke, and you heard all the worst shit about the nukes, while you're in boot camp. Well, then when you get to nuke school, that was the best thing because the PT was every other day, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and so in boot camp you all have to run together. You're all moving together, and you run to the beat of the slowest person, but still have to beat the time. When I got to A school, it was like we're all going to do our calisthenics together, our push-ups, our sit-ups, our jumping jacks, our butterflies, and anything. But then when you run, you can run as fast as you want to, and when you finish, you're done. So I'm like, game on. So I was actually running with another guy. They called me the White Rabbit because I was running before because, like I said, I lived out in the middle of the woods. If you want to get somewhere, you want to get there fast, you run. And so when I finished my run, they're like, you must have did a shortcut. There's no way you could run that fast. And one of the instructors ran with me again to make sure I could actually, this is right after I just ran the 1.5 miles, ran with me again and kept telling me to slow down. And I'm like, I ain't slowing down. You got to catch me. And so ran me again. We got to the end. He goes, okay, you're good.
Yeah, for sure. Tori or Spazzy just said, yeah, unless you get broken. If you get broken, then yeah.
If you get broken, you put on hold.
Yeah, the school that I went to, they'd hold you a week. You could actually get held back 1 week to get healed from whatever it was. And that was it. If you didn't recover by then they kicked you out. You were out of the school, which was kind of bad for me. I had broken 3 bones in my foot and had a cracked heel. And I wouldn't let them put a cast on, and they kept fighting me over it. We're going to put this on. I said, no, I can refuse. And what had happened was I had 2 sets of boots. From boot camp, I had 1 set of boots that was too big. They just didn't have the right size for me. So I had one that was 1 size too big and one that was the right size. So what I did was I took the one that was too big because my foot was swollen, cinched that up onto my foot, and then I just tied it as tight as I possibly could so my foot would fall asleep. And I ran on that. If not, then yeah, they would have kicked me out of the school. I ran on that for about 3 weeks, and then finally the command master chief of the school drove up in his personal pickup truck and yelled at me, and I said, no. I said, if you guarantee that I'm going to graduate in writing and you get the CO to sign it, I'll go put a cast on. And he left. He came back about 2 hours later with the paper, and he was mad at me, and he yelled at me the whole way over to medical. Said, I can't believe I had to go talk to the CO for you and get a effing paper done. What is wrong with you? It's just a job. I said, no, I'm not going Hayes grade underway, buddy. I'm graduating this freaking school. I'm holding out. Funny thing about that, George Bush's cousin President George Bush's cousin put my cast on. And they put a walking cast where there was a rubber pad on the bottom of it. They had a picture on the quarterdeck of the school, at the entrance of the school. of the back of me throwing hand grenades in training with the cast. It said, and all it said was "never give up." That was it. So it kind of set the pace for some of the stuff I did later on in my career. So it's a different attitude.
Sounds like Owen wants to be a Marine Raider.
Why?
You'll
Gosh.
definitely you'll get your money. You'll get your good equipment.
Yeah, but man,
So
you know, look at PJs in the Air Force, man.
if you want, yeah. So this is the story. So when I was doing customs in 05, 06, we were bringing people back in the country, and we got called for a pickup. We go get this guy. He's in blue jeans, a button-up shirt, like the polo shirt with long sleeves.
I know you
Was wearing a brown pack with canvas combat boots on. No ID on him. We had to secure this guy, bring him back to TOC, and they had his blood chit and his blood card to check him back in the country. He had dropped with another guy in country to recover a pilot. They get to the rendezvous point, they go radio dark. The guy never shows up. They wait 3 days for him. So they figure he's either been captured or he didn't make it. So now they have to march out of Iraq, try to get back into Kuwait. They picked this guy up at the border. Actually, they picked him up at Navistar. He walked right up to the gate and said, "I'm an American. I want to speak to the closest battle captain." So they called us. We picked him up, brought him in. But this dude had parachuted in civilian clothes and walked out of Iraq. And he was a parajumper or pararescue.
anytime, any place.
Dude, I have never had respect for Air Force before that.
Yeah,
That dude, all the respect.
The guys from the 720th were, yeah, those guys were some. They did some stuff. I've worked with them. They did some stuff. Yeah, Colonel Pelican and Major Pollard were some pretty good characters. So, yeah, different story. But those guys, that's where you go if you're not gonna if you don't want to worry about a budget, you want everything that you want, everything you need, everything you want. You want to go to a special operations group because they're going to give you everything you want and need. Kind of the cool part, I wasn't one of those guys, but what kind of the cool part of being attached to those guys as in that element is you get all the same benefits they do, and you don't have to worry about really so much of what they're doing where they're putting their lives at risk on every little thing they do. You're kind of back a little bit, So of course they'll scare the crap out of you a few times, but that's just part of the job. But yeah, I don't know, man. Marine Raiders, even they're kind of the tier that they're at is their budget's still restricted.
Yeah. If you go to recon, you'll get almost everything you want.
Well, you go, do what you want, go where you want, but it all comes down to what do you want in the end, And then another thing that I looked at when I went in was, the homeless veteran thing was going on. It was starting to really come to a head, and they were like, "Oh, this guy's a veteran. He's living on the street." And so I was like, "What branch did that guy serve in?" Because I don't see a whole lot of retired Air Force guys living on the street.
Yeah,
not a lot of them. And I don't really see a lot of Navy guys that were in skilled jobs living on the street. So what do I want to do? And they had already made my decision for me. Because of my history, they made a decision for me because of what I'd already done. So when I went to the school in Gulfport, the first few days I was in the class. After everything, pretty much after that, I was more or less like a teacher's aide. I was more or less instructing the other guys on what to do because of the history that I had. So, and then I showed quite an aggressive nature when I was at the Amphib base at my first command, and they transferred me over within 24 hours of when they decided they wanted me, which was really weird because checkout process takes 30 days. And I didn't have 30 days. I had, here's your orders, you got to report here tomorrow morning, you're on the other side of the base. Oh, okay. It's a different thing. Just like I said, depends on what, and then it also depends on, do you have the mental and physical ability and the right attitude for that job that you're gonna want to go do? there are some really intelligent jobs. Airborne mission systems operators, super intelligent job. They get 80 students in, and they usually graduate 2 or 3. It's a really hard rating to get into. But the good thing is, once you're done with that, if you make it through, your advancement's going to go faster because there's not a whole lot of
I would say when it comes time to pick your job, do something that doesn't just sound cool. It's something that you're going to want to be doing in 20 years, because I don't think any job in the military, unless you plan on doing it for 20 years, don't do it. Don't do the
Yeah.
job that's going to be cool for 4 years and then it's like, okay, now what?
Well, kind of look at what you did, Rainey. You bounced around from doing a whole lot of different duties, and what I see when and everybody else is going to see is they can plug you in anywhere for any career, and they know that you're going to adapt to it and you're going to excel at it.
Yep.
So,
That gets you deployed a lot. That's
yeah,
so. When I went back over in '06, I went over and I was still a gas turbine electrician. And when I got over there, they were like, okay, well, you're going to be doing vessel, check baggage tent. You're going to be doing the X-ray operator. You'll do this. And within 2 weeks, they're like, hey, you got gun quals. I'm like, yeah, I got them for fun. They're like, no, you didn't do them for fun. I think I've told you this story. So when I was on the ship, I got bored. And so I decided to qualify for the boarding team. And so for the boarding team, you get qualified at that time, M14, Colt 45, and the old Remington 1100 shotgun. And just like a convoy, when you're on a boat, once the boat gets there, there's no passengers. You're active member. So fast forward to 2006, and they're like, hey, your weapons qualified. And I was like, yeah, I just did that for fun. They're like, no, you didn't. We need a fire team. And it says here that you're fire team qualified. And I was like, yeah, I am, but I don't plan on doing it. And they're like, no, you're gonna. So we started doing convoy. We did search and seizures, and we did the ECP between Iraq and Kuwait. And
okay.
2 months into it, the provost marshal is coming by, and at that time, this provost marshal is an Army unit. They had a Navy commander in charge of it, as provost marshal. Because in '06, the Army was very short on smart people. They were trying to get as many infantry as they could, and that's all they were bringing in, and they didn't care what else because they were just sending those guys out to fight. So all the top positions and administrative positions were being filled by the Navy. So she comes over and she's like, why don't you cross rate to Master at Arms? I was like, I don't want to do that. That's crazy. Get shot at, have to carry guns all the time, be out in the heat. She goes, you're doing it now. You got a point. So I was the only person. So they still had to remember the old the PARS books.
Yeah.
They had a PARS book
for that was the bride book, by the way. But yeah.
Yeah, they had the PARS book for MA2. I went ahead and cross-rated MA2 in Kuwait at the Provost Marshal's office. I would have we did convoys Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We did EZP Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sunday was my only day off, but I would go over to Camp Buring and work the range, and had to learn, and that's where I did my PARS. So I learned how to be a line coach there. I learned how to be the safety officer there. I swept a lot of brass to get signatures and got signed in. I did not have a day off for like 6 months.
It's kind of like the Chiefs book. There's certain things you got to do to get signed.
But I did a lot of stuff. Should you know, if you want to be a raider, you better learn to not only swim, but swim with a brick on.
Well, they're gonna put you in a pool and give you tasking, and it's kind of like what we did when I went over to group. Even though I wasn't one of the special operators, I was still attached with them, so I had to run through a lot of the same training. You get into a pool, and my thing was to put nuts on bolts. There was like 13 on this thing that I had to attach because they wanted it to be something that you might be actually doing, kind of thing. And they didn't tell you at the time, but what they're really trying to do in the pool is I probably shouldn't say this, but what they're doing is they're trying to push you, or you push yourself to your very limit on what you're able to do, because it's impossible to get nuts on 12 or 13 bolts. Well, I got the 13th one threaded on, but I didn't get it tightened when I drowned. By the way, drowning is very peaceful.
They do what they call drown proofing, and it's to teach you that if you die, they can always bring you back, just like a bad horror movie.
The thing was, once I was coughing again and out of the pool, and somehow ended up from inside the water out of the water, and gagging up water and coughing and throwing stuff up. He looked at me and said, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "What? Did I get it all on there?" Another guy said, "I don't know if I got the last one on." And he goes, "That's not the effing point. The point is you want to push yourself as far as you can, but don't die." And I'm like, "Oh,
it's drown proofing."
Did I make it though?" And he goes, "Yeah, you're done for the day. You can go to medical. We're going to send you down there. You'll probably re-drown." It's like, okay, cool, but I passed, right? And he goes, "Yeah, and that's the attitude we want. Just go." So, but that's what the pool's really all about in the end. It's not a matter of you're going to swim, just swim. They're going to give you tasks, and it's you're going to be underwater, and you're going to have to really push yourself as far as you can, because most of them are impossible tasks. You're not going to get all the way through it, but they don't want you to drown in the towards the end either, unless what I said later was, well, what if those 12 guys were depending on me to get that last bolt on? It would have been worth it for me to get sacrificed for those operators to go and do what they needed to go do.
It's a very thin line, though.
2 weeks later, I went to a different group. So they put me in a different group.
So I got qualified up to swimmer 2. In swimmer 1 is you're going to dive school if you're swimmer 1.
Yeah.
And one of the things they would do is you would do the 5-minute float. But the 5-minute float, you do most of it underwater. You only come up enough to get a breath and go back down. While you're above the water, they're throwing tennis balls at you to get you to go back under. And that was a lot of fun to me. It's like my head is just screwed on backwards that way. I thought it was a lot of fun. The other thing is the brick carry. You have a cinder block in one part of the pool. You start at the deep end. You drop your brick in. You go to the bottom, and you have to walk it across the pool. If you get to where you have to stop, you leave your brick, go up, take a breath, come back down, grab your brick again. And it seems it's easy, but here's the hard part. You actually have to train your lungs to survive on one breath of air. The hard part is getting all the air out where you can get more air back in and do it really quickly and efficiently. But to me, it was a game. It was fun because it was a game I had to learn how to play.
Yeah.
Swim survival as a rescuer was also funny. I think Spaz was talking about this, trying to learn how to rescue people that are drowning, and the hardest one is the people that fight you. I will tell you this because I'm sure you can run into it. What they teach you is when you have someone that's fighting you, you can do 2 things: kick away from them and let them drown, and once they drown, pick them up and drag them back. Or shove them under and drown them. And then you could drag them back, because it's easier. Once they're unconscious, it's easier to rescue them because somebody else can help you revive them. If they're fighting you and end up knocking you out, you're going to drown too, and then you'll both die.
Yeah, that does no good. Don't be a victim. One of the things that I was going to touch on before we got into dying in a pool was with the diversification attitude that you have, where it crosses over to a lot of things, which includes bikes. If you take a look at your garage right now, what do you have in your garage? You've got a sport bike. You've got
a tour bike and a fun bike.
You've got your touring bike. You've got your fun bike. The 2 different Harleys that you've got.
I've got my special project.
Yeah, and your special projects to bounce around with. But you've got all the different facets right there. And that shows the attitude that you have, and it shows the intelligence that you have, because you go from one to another, to another, to another. And you're willing to do that, and you're willing to adapt to all those things. And that's probably something that you already had a little bit going in the service, but it's something that the service taught you was, don't just stick with that one thing. Bounce around a little bit, try everything out.
Go for the challenge.
And it shows an intelligence level, and it shows the ability to do whatever you want to go do or whatever you need to go do and get it done. This close to Veterans Day, it's kind of cool to be able to say something like that, because a lot of us have done that kind of thing where we go from one to another to another. And if you look at our garages, you'll see sport bikes and you'll see a touring bike. You'll see a street glide or electric glide. You'll see something. There's nothing for us going and saying, hey, I'm going to ride to Tennessee. I'm going to ride to, North Carolina. When? Here in a few hours. I'm just going to take off. And to us, it's something, but it's not impossible. It's like, oh, let's go do that.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Anything that's easy is not worth doing.
Yeah.
And I'll tell the story about all of a sudden I found out that I had 5 days off from work, and I'm like, I've never gone up to see Bleak up in Des Moines, Iowa. I'm going to drive up to Des Moines. So I called Bleak, and this was like on a Wednesday. I was like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? He goes, I'm just going to be tooling around Des Moines. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm thinking about coming up to see you. He goes, well, I guess I'm going to be tooling around Des Moines with you. So I just took off on like Thursday morning, drove all the way up to Des Moines from Memphis. It was about 8.5 hours. Drove all the way up there. Stayed the weekend with him, had a good time. Left Sunday morning and it was pouring rain. Drove all the way back because it's like I think once you get over this is military. Every service says this in some way, but basically embrace the suck, because the suck is what makes it fun. Because you're proving something, and I hate to say that you're always trying to prove something. Yeah, I am trying to prove that I'm still capable, I'm still smart enough to do stuff, and I can survive. And if something goes wrong, I can survive that too.
And you probably do this subliminally, but there's always that one thing you do every day that's a success no matter what. I don't know what it is, whether it's making a pot of coffee correctly, making your bed, taking the trash out. There's always some kind of start. I know with me, it's one thing, and I don't really tell everybody what it is. She knows what it is. But I do one thing every single day that at the end of the day, I come back and look and go, yeah, the whole day could suck. It's embrace the suck. The whole day could be terrible, and I failed at everything that went on. And, what did you get accomplished today? Absolutely nothing. But I did that one thing. And I look over and go, yeah, that was my success today.
Yeah.
That one thing. And that's what keeps everybody going, is you got that one thing. And I don't know what yours is, but I guarantee you do it every day. There's one thing.
I have to have an achievement. I have to have something that says, it's like John Cena says, at the end of every day, you think, did I earn the sunset?
Yep.
Did I earn the right to sit down and say, I'm done?
Yeah. I never heard that. But what it is, it could be something as simple as loading the dishwasher. It could be any little thing, as long as it's that one success that you had. It's great. It could be, I'm going to, wipe something down or mop the floor or take the trash out every morning. There's always that one thing you come back and go, I did that. That was the only good thing that happened today. Everything else sucked. So yeah, that's just something that with a lot of ratings, a lot of job types, you have to do that, because you might be in some terrible situations all day long, but as long as you do that one thing, that when you get back, or when you're wherever you're at, you come back to that one place where you were at, you say, I did that though. I checked the air in those tires, though. I made sure they were aired up. And it might be something as simple as that. There's one thing.
Yeah.
And everybody should have that one thing. Relationships are the same way. There's that one thing you do with your wife. If you don't have that one thing that you guys share, that you guys do, that's hard. Those relationships, you'll see them going downhill. So it might be a date on Friday. It might be, we're going to binge watch movies on Saturday night and eat popcorn. There's that one thing that we do. We might go ride the bike. We might take a ride every week and go somewhere. So there's that one thing that's always consistent, and it's a success story.
I think my thing is my videos.
Yeah.
I have to get a video, Rick. Owen, I do have a couple of video. Owen, text me your email address, and I'll send you a couple of pictures when we're done here. I do have a lot of cool pictures.
3 miles and 20, knock that down to 18. Should be
He's
a
only
6-minute
14.
mile. What's he doing 20?
He hasn't reached his breach yet. Here's what I
That's
tell
two
you.
extra whole minutes that he's got. What's he doing with the 2 extra minutes?
So when I started doing when I became the CFL, and once I became the CFL, when I was in the reserves, I was the old guy, but I was also the CFL, which meant in my mind I had to be the fastest person there. And so I started knocking down my times. And so then when everybody started doing 5Ks, everybody started doing 10Ks, I had to do them. And then there's a race on the base that's right here called the Navy 10 Nautical Miler. And they run it on the Sunday after D-Day. And it's 10 nautical miles, which is like 11.8 miles. So I started doing that. And because I thought I had to, because I'm like, oh shit, I've never done it. I guess I think I have to do it. And I always took on those challenges like that. So I think what Owen is going to do, Owen is going to start finding his points. And as he finds those points, I do this at every 5K. I'll run a 5K, and I don't care if I could do it in 17 minutes. I'd go, I could do it better. And I'd run the next one. I should have been faster, and I try to do it again. So, and at some point, I had to go, okay, if I can hit 20, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm good with 20 minutes. Because after I'd done it a couple times at 17, I was like, okay, I can do it. What else do I have to prove? I've proved what I need to prove. So now I can just go, okay, I'm just going to go out and run.
No, 6-minute mile, man. I did it in 6.
Dude, I remember the fastest I'd ever run the mile and a half was 9:09. And I was like, I got to break 9 minutes. I got to break 9 minutes.
Yeah, that was the goal.
I got to break 9 minutes. And I could never do it, but that did not keep me from chasing it. And I never caught it.
That's another thing about running in any service, really, probably, but I know especially in the Navy, if you run there and you run on your own without them telling you to do it, or running like we used to do a battalion run, it was a joke. We jog around the base and do the cadence and all that stuff. But then if you spent the next hour out running, they would see you, and you were the guy. You were the I'm running on the base after the whole battalion PT program thing, and I'd go out and I'd run down the beach, run through the obstacle course at the end of where the teams were at, and then I'd run back over. Admiral Safel saw me and says, "Hey, Doug," and I'm like, "Sir," and he's like, "Hey, Doug, good run today." And I'm like, "He just called me by my first name. I don't know what to do. Am I in trouble? What the hell?" But they notice you, and the next thing you know, you're going from E1 to E6 in 6.5 years.
Yeah. When I was in Great Lakes, this used to be really cool. So I was in the hot plant, and I was teaching hot plant fundamentals, and nobody wanted to be the CFL. So I'm like, shit, I'll be the CFL. So I'd already had, when you teach A school, that's your second job, because that's the job you're only spending like six hours a day on. You've got another job on the outside. So I went to work at a couple of gyms as a trainer and a desk op and whatever. So I got my ACE personal training certificate. Well, they made me the CFL, so I started running the CFL. So I'd learned a lot of, back then, the thing to run to in Norfolk, because the SEAL base was right there on Turtle Creek.
Little Creek.
On Turtle anyway.
Yeah,
but
Turtle, yeah.
You heard the cadence all the time. So when you went down there running, you learned a lot of SEAL team cadence.
Yeah, from the students.
Because of the platoons at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. So anyway, when I started doing CFL, I take the guys out for runs, and the A school, BEE and the other guys are all running like super slow. They're doing the shuffle march and shit. I'm like, hell no, I got stuff to do. I got to get to a job. So I take my guys out and run them. So we had this thing where we would start in front of the hot plant between the BEE school and the radioman school. We'd take off running, and we'd run toward the shore. We'd hit the shore, and there was probably a mile there that you're running right on the beach. At the end of that beach, there's a pretty steep incline at the top. So I would tell these guys, when we get to the bottom of this, as soon as we cross that white line, you can take off running. And if you beat me to the top, you don't have to run the next PT day. Well, if any of the kids could beat me, They wanted to prove they could beat me again next time.
Well, and even then, the guys that beat you, they're still going to run with you the next day.
They want to run with you next time, yeah, because they're like, oh, I can do this. I can beat you next time. But the Admiral came out one time. The Admiral's aide came down, and since we were calling cadence, he says, Admiral wants you guys to run in front of headquarters, in front of the headquarters building, and do your cadence. I'm like, what? He says, yeah, we're going to have some Army guys in there today. They want us to call cadence. Because my guys, I built some good lung capacity on those chumps. So we'd get out there and do full cadence. And what he wanted us to do, remember the whole, hey, Army? He wanted us to do that as we passed headquarters. Because he thought it was so funny. And it's a little point of pride, you know, to know that, like you said, the Admiral knows who I am. He knows that we have a lot of pride, and he's using me to embarrass Army officers.
Yeah, so, he's using you as the, look what I got.
Yeah.
Look what I motivate out
Yeah,
there,
Major,
you know?
what's that noise? Let's go to the window and listen. Oh, it's my guys.
And that, like I said, that crosses over to the bike world too. You know, it's showing. He's going, hey, listen, you know, I've got a great example. I'm gonna put this group out here in front of everybody. You know, and it's always the best examples, especially with riding. You know, you're kind of the same attitude I am. We don't care what you're riding. I mean, yeah, we ride Harleys now, and there's that stigma of the trying to be more than you really are. You know, you've seen those guys most of the time. It's at the rallies. But you see those guys trying to be more than they really are, and it's like, knock it off, dude. I don't care if you're on a freaking scooter. You know, I mean, yeah, I hope that you get something faster than that to keep up. But man, you know, if you're on two wheels, it's good. I don't care what brand you're riding or anything else, as long as it's the one you want to ride. You know, do your dream, have your attitude, and like you always say, be kind.
Yeah.
You know, the thing about the hey Army as you're going by, that's, you know, that's something we all share. Veterans, we all share that. It's like, man, I'm going to give you a hard time. You know, I know that if I call you, you're going to be like, hey man, what's going on? You know? I'll be like, hey, what's up?
We've actually had that. So we went to, of course, you know, the Marines. We had a big rivalry with Marines and stuff because we were going around Unitas, going around South America, and we had a Gator freighter. So we go into ports and all these other ports, man. We're always giving the Marines shit. And there weren't a whole lot of them, though. So we pull into Panama, and there's a big Army contingency there. And the Gator dudes made a beeline for my ship, and they're like, dude, we got to go out together, man. There's a lot of fucking Army guys out there. And I'm like, all right, let's do this. And so we went out, you know, went on to Rodman, and dude, we had a fucking blast because we go into this Air Force bar, which is funny because there's no Air Force people in the Air Force bar. But it's full of Army guys, man, and we just had the best of times. But when we're in there, though, anywhere else we went, it was us against the Marines giving them shit. We go into this bar with all the Army guys. Now it's us and the Marines giving the Army shit. So, you know, those tides shift depending on who you're around. But then we went to Colombia, and it was just us, and the Colombians were a bunch of assholes. So then it was all of the military against, you know, the Colombians. So. But it's all rivalry. It's all in the rivalry, and it was a lot of fun. But
well, and the other part is when you get into a situation, you know, there was the Marine Force Recon guys that I went out with on one of the landing craft, and we went onto a beach, and we were taking fire. And of course, there's like I'm running the bulldozer, and a lot of people don't know how to do these operations. When they come up and they hit the beach, and the door drops on this thing. You know, you go off the boat with the bulldozer first, so you don't run anybody over, and then you turn around, and everybody comes off next, and they run on both sides. You be in there using for cover. Meanwhile, there's paint flecking off the hood, and you know, I'm losing glass, and I'm like, okay, and I bring the thing up, and I push the boat off, you know, because the boat's stuck at that point. So I push the boat off. These guys go in, they do their thing. I'm sitting there by the dozer on the beach with the mechanic that's sitting there. And they finish up. They came back, and they were real quiet, scared the crap out of me. You know, so I'm like, these guys just showed up out of nowhere. And the one gunny sergeant looked at me, and he goes, I don't know how you do it. I was like, what? He goes, you sit 8 feet above everybody else with a 110-gallon bomb behind your head called a fuel tank, and you're taking fire. And I said, man, it's because of you guys, man. And he goes, and he's like, yeah. hoorah, you know, he was all pumped up. And the whole time I'm thinking, no, I just have a job, and that's what CVs do. Okay, you know, push the boat off. We appreciate what you do. Don't get me wrong, but we have a goal of getting our job done first, and then we defend ourselves, and that's how we roll.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a cool thing, you know. Here are these guys, you know, we give them a hard time, they give us a hard time, you know, and we look and go, yeah, you know, my bags are over there. If you get them for me, nice stripe on your pants there, bellhop. But we also know those are the guys that are going to keep us alive when we're doing our job.
Yeah. When I was in Brownwater, when I was in Riverine, I said we were the most qualified taxi drivers in the world, and the best
Well,
armed.
you're going to keep everybody alive until they get there.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, and so you know, there was, oh, we're the first ones there. Yeah, right after we get there and set you up, you're good.
I remember the Seabees would set up bases down in Vietnam, and they would put a sign up at the gate that said "Welcome, U.S. Army."
Yeah, welcome. Yeah, there's all kinds of cool stuff. If you look at some of the photos, some of the smuggling operations that we did, you know, there's always, I don't know how, but there was always beer. The first thing you set up. But yeah, it's a cool thing, you know. And it's like that with the bikes and stuff too. You know, we might go, oh yeah, nice Sportster, you know. Your wife ride that? You know?
Dude, I love my Sportster. I had no shame, dude.
But we and I love them too. They're fun bikes, super fun bikes, sporty as hell. But it's that you know, I know that somebody's going to come up and they're going to go, oh, electric light, huh? Yeah, old man bike. Yeah, like an old man bike. You know, what do you mean? I can get on that thing though, and I can ride to Virginia with it, and go, wow, look, I'm not beat up and tired. You know, I can actually do something for a few hours, and because I'm not getting beat up. You know. But then again, like I said, you'll get a hard time, but really it's not really a hard time. You know, it's somebody's going, oh yeah, nice bike, this, you know, and they'll say something and you're like, yeah. You know?
What I learned in the last half of my life is the only person I'm really trying to impress is myself, because I'm the only one I have to prove anything to. Anybody else, I could care less what they think. It's what I think about myself that really matters.
That's one of the things I like about you is and we're kind of similar there, is we're not really trying to prove it. We've already proven everything we're going to prove.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've already been there and back, and now I just want comfort, and every once in a while I want to do a little challenge, you know. I'm still a tower climber. I still do ridiculous things. And I think now it's just out of spite because I'm the oldest one in the agency that does it. So, you know,
it's a point of pride.
When you show up and they go, how old are you? And I'm like, shut up. How old are you? 23. And you're the instructor? And you're the one doing my refresher. Well, what can you tell us? I'm not telling you anything, man. You just no.
So Owen's asking if we ever learned the Navy hymn. Yes. Like I said, this road when you passed under, what was the name of that road? Green Bay
Bridge. It crosses under that.
It wasn't.
I forget.
Going over to the hospital side, it began with an S. Well, I can not remember the name of that road.
Honestly, I'd have to look it up.
Anyway, anytime you crossed near the gate or you're crossing under a road, you had to sing the Navy hymn for all of the people driving by. So, but.
Well, that and it was loud and it echoed. So
and it echoed. Cool. Yeah, it's like revving your bike when you go under an overpass.
Crossing over the bikes, you got to get a rev in the tunnel, you know?
See how the Navy is just like being on a bike.
There you go.
But what we did do, especially in our Riverine days, the first thing we did every morning at quarters was we did the Navy Creed. Which the Navy Creed, actually, they didn't start doing the Navy Creed until, I want to say the late 90s, because they didn't do it while I was in boot camp and they didn't do it while I was in A school. Or when I was instructing. So that when I came back in 05, they were doing it. And I actually got more pride out of doing the Navy Creed than singing the drinking song. So, which is what we always called it, the drinking song.
To the foam?
Drink to the foam, baby. Yeah. But yes, we did learn it. I can still sing it today.
Crosses over. So a lot of stuff that we did crosses over. And it's always good to learn from that.
I still drink to the foam. Just not as much.
Just not as much.
Just not as much.
I regulated a little more.
I drink to the foam responsibly.
Oh, he keeps saying, Owen keeps saying he's looking at the Marine Corps still. Man.
It's, I mean, you got to do what
Yeah,
makes you, yeah, whatever makes you happy. I mean, listen, when you're in the academy, you're going to learn. You're all doing the same thing, and you might act a little differently while you're there. But when you're a cadet, you're a cadet. And I don't think they actually start differentiating until I think the second year. Your plebe year, everybody dresses the same. You're just a plebe. You don't actually start splitting into Navy and Marine until I think the second year, maybe the third year. But
and then once you're out in the fleet, and once you're out in service, out of the school and stuff, your reputation as an officer will build on the respect level that you give others. That's really the biggest thing. You're going to have some people that are going to look at you differently. They're going to kind of look down on you a little bit sometimes because of what they've done and how many ribbons they've got and how many medals they've got on their chest. And one of the things that one of the things you might consider doing is turning and saying, yeah, the reason that I do this is out of respect for what you do and what I do. And it quiets them down a little bit. It shows that one, you're kind, but you're also firm, and you're secure in who you are. And from that point forward, as an officer, they'll whoever's doing that's going to respect you more.
it would always, especially when we're out in the field. So we'd be out with an Army group, and so I was the 86th at the time. I was the guard commander or PSB, whichever one we were at. And Army would come over and go, "Hey, you guys got somebody that can look at our Caterpillar, man? Our 20K generator's down." It's like, "Yeah, we'll be right over." And I'd show up, and they're like, "What are you doing?" "I'm gonna fix your generator." It's like, "You're a staff sergeant." I'm like, "Yeah, but I also know how to fix a generator." "Oh, man, we're sorry. We're sorry, Brother King. We didn't mean to." I'm like, "This is my job. This is what I do." And they're like,
watch and learn.
"Well, I thought you were chief of the guard." "I am. I'm also the generator operator. Come in close.
Yeah.
Bring your tools." And it blew the Army away because their staff sergeants, they wouldn't do anything like that. They wouldn't get down there and try to fix a generator. They'd scream at their guys, their E4s, because it wasn't fixed yet. That was a specialist job to the Army guys. They didn't know why I was over there doing that. It's like, this is what we do.
That's one guy's entire existence. That's what they do.
Yeah.
That one thing, and they're really good at it, but that's the one thing they do. Talking about this stuff, one of the things, and I did the same thing with bikes, but one of the things that I learned, not before, but after, and it's going to sound a little bit selfish, but kind of not, is what's in it for me. And I wished I would have said that to myself before going active duty. What's in it for me? Okay, if I sign on the dotted line, what are you going to give me? I mean, what's in it for me? Are you going to give me that $40,000 college fund? Are you going to make sure I'm in that GI Bill? Are you going to make sure that I get a guaranteed school for this rating? Because pretty much if you have a guaranteed school, you're going to go do that school, and you that's part of your enlistment agreement. All you got to do is graduate the school, and you're going to have that rating. A lot of guys, and you've seen them, Rainey, you've seen them where they go in, they sign on the dotted line, and they're this E1 through E3 non-rate, and they have to really push and earn that rating to be able, and put in their special request for it and get accepted. Where you have those other guys that turned around and said, "Well, I want you to send me to, CT school. I want you to send me to this school or that school or become an electronics warfare guy or whatever. Send me to that school, and then I'll sign on the line." I don't know if the Marine Corps really does that. So you might just get placed wherever they decide to place you at some of the different organizations. So be careful of that. I really wished I would have said that to myself before. What's in it for me?
Make sure, get everything before you sign.
What's in it for me to go get this limited edition, I'm pointing at it, this limited edition bad boy, Well, people are going to say this. I don't care what people say. "Oh, you're going to get sunburned." I don't care. There's a UV thing on there people don't know about. What's in it for me? I feel good because in 1990, I couldn't afford the Gray Ghost. But what's in it for me got me to where I could afford it. It just took 35 years. So, but what's in it for me? If you're gonna literally sign on a dotted line and be willing to die, what's in it for you?
We
Because
had a
that's in the
friend.
end, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, me and
Are
Dan
you
had a friend
willing to
up in
die?
St. Louis. Their son wanted to be a mortician, and I was like, "You go Army." And so he goes to the recruiting office, and they're like, "Oh, we don't have that." And I'm like, he comes back and says, "Yeah, they said they don't have morticians." And I go, "Yes, they do."
Bullshit. Yeah.
And I said, "Go back and tell him that you have a friend who knows for a fact that Army does body recovery in mortuary, and it's not like you would think of mortuary services here, but they do body prep, and that's what he wanted to do." And I said, "Go tell him for a fact that you want to do that." And so he goes back and he's like, "Oh, the recruiter says that that's a civilian job and they don't do it and this." And I was like, "Then tell him you're not signing." So he goes back and he says, "Well, you can't get in with tattoos because this kid had tattoos." I was like, "Yes, you can." It's like, "Oh, they don't take recruits with tattoos." Anything to not give this guy his job. And I'm like, "Yeah, they do." And so I talked to his mom, and I talked to him, and I was like, "I know for a fact that they do. Tell him if you don't get mortuary services, and that you're not going." And they ended up all of a sudden, oh, they found a slot, and they sent him to
Yeah.
mortuary school.
All of a sudden.
So
Yeah.
yeah, they don't call it mortuary services. It's what do they call it? Special services preparation. It's something like that. They don't say mortuary services, but it's basically it's body prep because somebody has to prepare those bodies overseas, and I saw it a lot. So yes, it does.
Yeah.
If you hold out and tell them this is what I want, I'm not signing unless I get it. By the end of the month, they're going to give it to you.
Yeah. They're not going to give you the rating, but they're going to give you that school to go to.
Yeah.
You just have to graduate the school.
Once you get the school, once you get the school, it's yours because then they're going to use you.
Yeah,
I did the same
exactly.
thing. I was actually thinking about leaving the Army because I was going to try to go into Provost Marshal when I came back in '08 or in 10. And they're like, "Oh, really, we really can't do that," because I wanted to go CID, and they're like, "Well, really, they don't really have that slot. You got to go to you got to get qualified to go. You got to do 3 years, and then you can put in for warrant officer school, and you become." And I'm like, "No, this is what I want. I want it in writing." And so they're like, "Well, you can't go right into CID. You got to do like 84 Bravo first and this." And I'm like, "All right, well, put me down for 84 Bravo school, and
There's
I'll
a
get
waiver
my
for everything.
investigator certificate in 84 Bravo." And then they're like, "Well, what you got to remember is everybody in the Army is actually infantry. You're infantry first, and then you're whatever your rating is." And I'm like, "No, I want this school." And then they're like, "Well, all we can really give you is, you know, maybe we can get you for MP school, and we might be able to get you into a school at Fort Sill and do MP." And I'm like, "No, this is what I want." So I backed out of it. A month later, I get a letter. Oh no! First, I get a phone call from Chemical Services, Chemical Warfare in St. Louis, and they're like, "Hey, they have you down. You're supposed to be here today for drill. Just wondering where you're at." And I said, "I didn't sign the paperwork." And they're like, "Yeah, they gave you a slot in my." This is their commanding officer calling me. He's like, or their CIC. He says, "Yeah, they gave you a billet in my unit, and they said you'd be here today." And I said, "No." I said, "I'm still Navy. I'm actually drilling in Weldon Springs this month. So no, sorry, sir, I won't be there." And he's like, "Well, do you have a slot?" And I'm like, "Well, okay. I mean, if I go to that, will I get paid for Army too?" "Well, if you show up, they'll pay you. If you're on the billet, they'll pay you." I'm like, I say, "Can I cross drill and show up next week?" I was gonna double dip. And he's like, "Oh, I don't know about that. If it shows up, you only get paid, for one drill a month." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm not gonna be there then." For the whole year, I kept getting an LES from the Army. For the whole year, $0, but they were actually issuing me on my MyPay. When I retired, it showed that I had served a full year in the Army on top of being in the Navy for one whole year in 2010.
They're
Never signed the paperwork.
You were talking about like different stuff, and I was like, "There's a waiver for that. There's a waiver for that." Oh, there's not a waiver for it. There's a waiver for everything. I knew somebody that that couldn't get through the urinalysis. she went and she popped for coke. There's a cocaine waiver, and she got one. She's also turned out to be the same one that did my security clearance later. Okay, which was really bizarre because I was like, huh? Really?
Oh, I've seen people have waivers for cocaine use. I've seen people for waivers for going to jail. I had one for when I went to join. This is a funny story. I tell it all the time. What the recruiter asked me, or they asked me at MEPS, have you ever tried drugs? I said, yeah, I tried marijuana one time, didn't like it. It gave me a weird feeling. It made me really psycho at it, and I didn't like it. Oh, sure you did. I was like, no, I only did it one time. Okay, really? No, but really, how many times did you do it? I said, no, I did it once. He goes, nobody does it once. If you did it once, I mean, you probably did a lot. I said, no, I only did it once. I said, I didn't like it. It made me feel weird. And he's like, nobody does it just once. I mean, I did it probably 20 times before I came in.
Yeah, no kidding.
I go, did you sign a waiver for it? And he's, well, no, I didn't. I just didn't tell him. And I'm like, so here I am being truthful. And you had to sign a waiver. You had to sign a page 13. Yes. And you had to do the whole anti-drug course before they would, and do the waiver. So watch a movie, watch a video. But I've seen them waiver everything. I've seen them waiver a guy with rods in his back.
Have you ever tried the marijuana? Tried it? No. Oh, you're talking about weed? Yeah, no. I hadn't tried it. We had a relationship. I was growing that shit on my sun deck. Right? Now, not so much. Now I get a little reaction to it that's not good. Yeah, closes off my throat. I don't like it.
We had a guy in confinement, and this was in 2008. He was in confinement. He had a car wreck, crushed his skull, had a plate in his skull. Tried to get in the Army. They wouldn't allow him because he had brain damage. Tried the next year. They wavered him for a plate in his head, let him go in. The dude was still a little psychotic. He ended up shooting a guy because he said he was deployed for a whole year, never got to shoot anybody. So literally an hour before he got on the Black Hawk to fly out of the green zone, he shot a contractor because he never shot anybody. I just wanted to shoot somebody. So he shot a Russian contractor.
I'm not laughing at that. That's not funny.
We had the whole. So I was there for 2 years, and in that 2 years we sent, and I won't say where it was, but there is a special facility for crazy people that never go to court, that never go to trial because they're too crazy to send to trial. So they send them to this nice special place. And we sent 20 people there in the 2 years I was there that will never see court, but also never see the light of day. They will never see sunshine again. And he was one of them.
Sorry, I had to mute. I was asking for something.
Oh. Anyway. Oh, and have we answered all your questions? I know we just kind of danced around, talked about.
Sure,
I told you we'd tell Navy stories. That's how it works.
I keep trying. We're close to Veterans Day, so we got to call it what it is. There's always a crossover to bikes. So, and there's a waiver for every bike.
There's a waiver for every bike, even a Sportster.
Just because it's a fat boy doesn't mean you can't put a Batwing on it. That's a waiver.
I got a Sportster that has a freaking lowrider has a freaking Dyna fairing on it. I basically turned it into a Dyna. Put a stretch on the front, put a stretch on the back, put a fairing on it, put a windshield, put a sissy bar. It looks like a freaking Dyna until you get close enough to it to go, wait a minute.
And it works.
That's not a Dyna. It's comfortable. I got a big old cushy couch seat on it. It's lovely.
That's what, as you get older, that's what you learn. You just want a nice, comfortable place to sit and have the energy to do something after you're done.
I will tell you this though, and the best thing you can do to prepare yourself to go in is you're already in ROTC, but I would say go above and beyond, do as much physical activity as you can, work out, do the heavy stuff, do runs. I would say when you show up at boot camp,
sit-ups, pull-ups.
You want nothing to be hard. Yes, especially if you're really thinking about going Marines, start doing pull-ups.
Yeah,
start with bands, work your way up. When you show up to boot camp,
push-ups 4 times a day.
Yep. You show up to boot camp, you literally want to be the guy that goes, yeah, this is easy. Because if you're the guy that shows any reserve,
you don't want to say that. out loud. Keep that to yourself because they will push you if you say that. You want to be the guy that's just doing them going,
Never say it's
yeah,
easy.
This is so hard. Oh, this
Be like, did you see the movie Novocaine? The guy has no feeling of pain, and the guy's like stabs him in the leg with an arrow, and he's wiggling around. He's like, ow, that's so painful.
No,
Ow,
that hurts
oh my
so
God,
bad.
that hurts so much. Oh, wow, why are you doing this to me?
I don't know. I'm not the Novocaine guy. I felt every bit of pain, but I was always the one that they were like, "Why are you limping?" Oh, my foot's broke.
If you haven't seen that movie, watch it. That movie was so damn
watch
funny.
it.
It was so funny.
Next movie we're watching, Novocaine. But yeah, and that's another thing about pushing yourself. You know your limits. That's one thing about going active duty is you find out what your limits really are, so you become safer in everything that you do in life afterwards, even during, but life afterwards too. Is that when you're out riding, you're doing a long ride, you're like, man, I should stop. I know that I can go for another hour right now, but I've really got to find a place that I've got to stop within the next hour. And it's just something they train into you. Well, not really train into you. That's something that you find out about yourself is during all this training, during all these operations, you know what your limit is and when you're going to literally crash, when you're done.
Yeah.
And it's just benefits. These benefits will help you the rest of your life. And it doesn't matter which branch you're in, you're going to know what they are. You might find out that you can ride from Nashville to Phoenix in one shot and get through it and still be able to do it.
But you learn your limits by failing every once in a while and going, well, that was dumb.
Well,
how can I do this smarter next time?
And you learn with failure is it's going to happen. What are you going to get out of that failure?
Use the self-correcting error. Yeah.
Yep.
Make it a self-correcting error. Fix it.
What's in it for me? What am I going to get out of this failure? I got to get something positive out of it. Otherwise, it is a complete failure. So something's got to come out of it. And it could be the simplest little thing. Something's going to come out of it. My electronic screen shut off, and when I hit the bump going into New Mexico. Okay, that sucks. But I can keep going. Oh well, the belt came off. The belt shredded on this thing. Going into Gallup. Okay, that's going to kind of hold me up a little bit. What am I going to do?
And I will tell you this about boot camp. Before you go, knock your sugar back to almost nothing and knock your caffeine back to almost nothing. That way, when you get into boot camp and you're having a hard time and you need that cup of coffee during chow, it'll actually help you.
Yeah. That sugar takes 3 days to get over the craving and about 20 days to get over that high that you get from it, because sugar actually creates a high. So for the first 3 days when you're coming off of sugar, you're going to feel it. You're going to be like, man, my energy level's dope. It's gone. Take a caffeine pill, do something during those 3 days, but get off the sugar first. Then wean yourself, off of your caffeine. And if you use tobacco products, you need to quit that at least 21 days before you go.
I'd say quit now.
Yeah.
Don't even. You're only 14. Hopefully you're not smoking.
At a minimum 21 days before you go, because it takes 21 days to create or to eliminate a nicotine habit.
Anything you're going to be addicted to before you go is going to
really suck.
Yeah, anything you're addicted to is not only is it going to suck because you're giving it up, but you're going to give it up while your body's also already stressed out from everything else they're doing.
Yeah, and you're going to be apologizing to everybody because you're going to be an asshole.
and I'll tell you this and this is all the boot camps. The reason they stress you in boot camp is because it's the only thing they can do to actually simulate battlefield conditions, because they can't shoot you. They can't kick you, and break your legs and stuff. The only way they can stress you out is to minimize your sleep and make everything they're doing to you seem 10 times worse.
Yeah.
So remember that when you're in boot camp and it seems like everybody hates you. They don't hate you. They're trying to find out what you're made of.
And my limit on sleep is about 84 hours. I learned that when I was active duty too, the different training I've got. And it just, when you start seeing things, that's your limit right there. You start, it's not even imagining. You're just like, wow, there's a big giant hamburger in front of me.
I would start hearing we did a lot of inspections where you didn't sleep. You're lucky if you got an hour of sleep a night. But we called it the wah-wahs. in your ears, you start hearing whoa, 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 whoa. And it's your body trying to regulate your blood pressure because your blood pressure keeps trying to drop. So the blood pressure starts bailing in your ears. And because you're so overstimulated, it'll actually start sounding like a sound.
It sounds like a diesel engine a half mile away idling.
Yeah.
To me, that's what it sounds like to me. Is you get that, and I've actually she's actually seen me tired before where I'm like, what is that noise, you know? And then I remember, and then we move, get away from wherever that is, and it's like it's still there. Oh.
And there are times you get so tired that when you finally get to sleep, you can't sleep because your body keeps jerking itself back awake because it thinks it needs to be awake.
Yep, that's a physical reaction, and everybody's actually done that at one time or one time in their life. Is if you doze off too quickly, your body will convulse, and that's why when you see people injured really badly instantly with a lot of trauma, their body starts to convulse for a few minutes. You see them kind of flopping around. Well, that's the same reaction you get. You just fell asleep too fast, and your body will jerk you back away. You're like, oh shoot, and I've got to figure out a way to gradually go down instead of just going down. So
I used to have to drink a cup of coffee before I went to sleep to help me sleep.
Yeah,
because otherwise I would crash too fast. Like you're saying, as soon as I stopped moving, I fell asleep. I remember in boot camp and even during the inspections, thinking, I could lay down on this ground right now. In boot camp is the asphalt. I could lay on this grinder. If he turns around for 5 minutes, I'll just lay down on this asphalt right now and go to sleep. And I can jerk myself up real quick before I used to close my eyes standing up and catch myself as I start to fall. I'd be falling asleep standing up.
I fell asleep at the schoolhouse one time with one of there was a big fat book that we were studying out of. And I fell asleep and dropped the book. The sound of the book woke me up, and I was like, kind of standing there, everybody's looking at me, and I was like, what?
What do you want? School, if you fell asleep, you'd have to stand up. And there were a lot of guys.
You could voluntarily stand up too.
You could voluntarily stand up. But I remember making notes, and I'd open my eyes, and I'd have a half page of squiggles.
Because nothing.
I would go to sleep, and my hand would just keep moving. Your body does weird stuff when it's tired.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, like I said, one of the benefits of active duty, is you learn what those limits are, and it's like, okay, I gotta do this or I gotta do that. It helps us out later. So,
yep.
So yeah.
Learn your limits, Owen.
We won't talk about all the bad stuff, but we'll talk about the good stuff.
The cool thing is, and I'll tell this story. This will be our last story. We've kind of pushed it along, but when we were coming back, I think it was from the 06, it might have been from the 010 trip, but we had to go through warrior transition. We had to go through it, returning to the civilian world class. And this lady comes in. I remember I hadn't probably smelled perfume in who knows how long. The first thing I smelled when she came in was old lady perfume. And it was so strong in my head. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so strong. But anyway, she comes up and she goes, so when you get back to civilian life, you've got to remember the things that other people find funny, or that you find funny, they might not.
They might not.
And she's like, well, so guys, well, what do you mean? She goes, oh, what's the funniest thing that happened to you overseas? He's like, oh, I had this Haji in confinement, man, and he was walking by, and when I went to try to hand him his food tray, he spit on me, so I butt stroked him, and knocked all his front teeth out, and he's trying to yell and scream at me, but all it does is just flowing blood out, no blood out, and we're just kind of laughing, and the lady looks down and goes, so what would your grandma think about that story? Would you think she would find it funny? And he's like, well, I guess not. Your mind changes.
You got to read the room.
Yeah. Your mind changes, and it's been in the military for a while. You got to remind yourself. I remember being out with Diana when I came back in 10, and we go out with her friends, and they started asking about stuff, and I'd start talking. And to me, it was nothing. Next thing I hear, my wife slapped my leg. Mike, stop. Mike, stop.
You look over, and they're crying.
I look at I look at her friends, and they're like,
yeah, like one of them's got tears coming down, and the other one's just looking at you like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah, and then I was like, "Well, I thought it was funny."
I don't know. I was active.
and again, that's why it's good to when I'm talking to you, you get to breathe this stuff with people that have seen it and have breathed it with you, because people don't understand, and that's For vets, that's a big thing because I'll go through my entire day and I might see one guy every month that might have gone through the same stuff I went through. And again, I'm around some Navy guys, I'm around some Army guys, but just the combat experience and just the things that you saw, you can't talk with that to just anybody because they won't understand. They'll be there for you. They'll be sympathetic to you, but they won't be empathetic to you, and they don't know what to do with it.
They don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Does Owen ride?
Owen is 14. I'm going to make sure he rides when he's older, though. Owen, you want to learn how to ride? Come up. Visit Uncle Mickey.
I was going to say, he's got to start riding. Because, like I said, all this stuff for motorcycles crosses over.
Yeah.
And if you ride motorcycles, you can do anything.
And you'll be 20 times cooler. Anything.
You can do open heart surgery.
Don't tell your mom. And don't tell my dad.
And don't tell your mom until after you've done it. After you already have the endorsement on your license and they can't do anything about it.
Don't tell Papa Jim.
But yeah, really, do that cross country ride, with your uncle.
Yeah.
Saying.
Dude, that'd be the coolest thing ever.
That was something with my kid. Of course, he started riding on the street after he'd gone to the Air Force, and when he called me up, he was in Oklahoma City, stationed in Oklahoma City. He called me up and said, "Dad, I got my KLR 650," and I said, "I'll see you in 14 hours." And he goes, "How long does it take to get here?" And I said, "I think it's supposed to be 16."
That's supposed to be 16.
I'll see you in 14 hours. And he goes, "Really?" And I said, "I'm literally packing stuff right now to go." And I called my boss actually from my helmet and said, "Yeah, I'm taking a couple days." What's going on? My son got a bike and I got to go ride with him. And there is nothing like it. There's nothing like being able to do that. So anybody, any especially a family member, but anybody that gets a bike and they're ready, man, I'm in all the way. I don't care what I'm doing. I'll drop everything, come ride with you. Yep. So it's definitely you got to do that cross country trip with your uncle because it's going to show you what you're in for.
Yep, it's always worth it. It's always worth it to take the ride.
Yeah, well, it's a cross country ride across multiple states. That's literally that's the basis of what you're gonna need to get through everything you're gonna get through.
And when you come back from your deployments, you come back from school and you've got 2 weeks off and don't know what to do with it, make plans. Don't spend that time at home, playing video games and talking to your old friends. They're not going to understand. Jump on a bike, take a trip. Go see stuff, even if it's not on a motorcycle.
The friend that went to work at the supermarket that didn't go active duty, when he's like, "So what's it like?" And this literally happened with me. He'll ask what it's like. Well, just imagine that the cashier is going to make sure that the next guy through the door doesn't kill you. Okay, that's what it's like. You're relying on that guy to keep you alive, and he's relying on you. And you have to be willing to give your life to make sure he stays. You have to be willing to. Don't do that, but you have to be willing to. Be willing to get rid of the guy coming through the door. It's a lot more fun. Okay? But yeah, go for that ride. Definitely go for that ride.
I made a meme one time. Back in the early 2000s, I think it was Your Squad. Your Squad. And I made a meme. It was a porta potty that was surrounded by Texas barriers, and they were tied down for the sandstorms. And I said, "Don't tell me how tight your squad is until someone stood guard while you took a shit."
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's real life.
With doing a cross country ride, something's going to go wrong. Something is going to go wrong, and how you react to what goes wrong is who you really are going to be when you're active duty. If you give up and go, "Nothing I can do," well, you got to get past that because that's not what being active duty is about. You've got to push through everything and make sure, like I said, the book of Jumper, a jumper is taking a wire and bypassing something just to make it work. For anybody that doesn't know electricity, you're going to make it work no matter what. So you're going to get a flat. You're going to get something that's going to go wrong, and you've got to be able to push through that. Riding across country, you might have to take vacation time. That might cut you off because you got to go back to the job. But something's going to go wrong. Fix it enough to where you can get where you need to go.
Yep. Find out who you are.
It's kind of the same way. Things are going to go terribly wrong in some situations, really, really bad. but you've got to be able to push through that. You can cry about it later, but push through.
One of
That's
my
it.
favorite quotes is from Patton, where he's giving the speech, and one of the guys goes, "Sir," this is before they did the invasion. He says, "Sir, what if we get on the beach and we don't know what to do?" And Patton goes, "When you stick your hand in a pile of goo that was 5 seconds ago was your best friend's face, you'll know what to do."
You'll know what to do. Yeah. Well, that's good. That's a good one. I like that.
I love that quote.
What do you do when he gets when your buddy has a hole in his chest? Well, you pull his ID card out, slap it on there, say lay on your side and hold that, and then you keep running. So literally that's what you do. It worked for me.
Actually,
So I'll be back for you. But it's kind of, you got to have that attitude. If you do anything special, then you got to be a little more aggressive, like Rainey was saying. I should have gone faster. I should have ran faster. I should have hit that guy harder. I should have. And the next time you do it, you're gonna do that.
yeah. Yeah.
So these things.
Find out what you're made of. Push yourself, especially when you're young. I mean, you don't want to get. I say all the time, I didn't have much of a midlife crisis because everything I wanted to do, I did when I was young. Now I just have a couple of things left over. I've made a whole new bucket list because I've knocked my bucket list out. I've never accepted enough. I've never accepted good enough. I've wanted the stuff I wanted to do. I've never ran 12 and a half miles before. I think I'll go do it. Oh man, I've never rode down to Tampa. I'm going to ride all the way down to Tampa on a motorcycle. Man, I think I'll just take off this weekend and go. And the worst thing that can happen is you break down, then what? I think the best thing that could happen to you is something bad happens where you'll learn how to get over the things that you can't control. And once you find out that there's things you can't control and that's okay, you'll be a much better person.
Well, and that's something I carried with me when I was active duty as well. Is you break down, somebody's gonna see you broken down working on a bike, and what always happens? They stop. Hey, I've got a toolbox in the back. Let's get this fixed. There are a lot of really good people out there that are gonna help you out. If I would have officially ever gone into Iran, the people there are hypothetically, the people are the nicest people you'll ever meet. They'll invite you to their house and inside and feed you and treat you like family.
Yep. The Pashtos are the best people in this.
Yeah. And it's not what you're taught. It's what actually happens, hypothetically, because I never went there.
If it,
Anyway,
I mean, it really is. I mean, so that's why they hid, Osama bin Laden for so long, because in those villages, if you come into the village and you're a guest, you're treated like the most important person in that village, and that's something that the media didn't understand. Oh, why? Oh, they must be hiding him because they're for him. No, that's just the way they do. If you're a villager, you'll see this like in the Itchy Boots videos. She'll show up in a town, she can't spend her money. She can't buy things. She can't buy her own food. She can't buy water because you're a guest. We have to treat you as royalty, basically. And that's how they would do. So,
well, it crosses over. Now they're kind of there. I've heard there's some that are kind of getting away from it, but Harley dealerships, you buy a Harley, you're rolling across, you've got stuff packed on your bike. They see that. Yours just went to the head of the line. They're going to fix your bike.
They did that to Gma here.
Now that are kind of getting a different attitude about it, and I think they're really fucking that up. But they really need to stick with that because that's the one thing that you could always rely on with Harley Davidson and the dealers is you're traveling. It's going to cost you $150 a night to stay at a hotel. Well, they would prioritize you and say, you're traveling, we got to get you back on the road. And shoot, there's a ton of videos out there for people that have done that. You'll experience that. There was somebody, I forget her name, in San Diego, that she was going through San Diego and something went wrong with her bike and she was there for a week. And I don't remember what the bike was. It was, some foreign bike. But they had her there for a week, and it was like some simple part that she could have literally, I know, San Diego too. There's a lot of places that can fix that thing in a day because they've got the part on the shelf. Why did they have her waiting a week? I mean, come on.
Gma rolled into here with a flat tire, and they got her right in. She literally pulled it in. They said, "We're going to go take care of her right now," and they took care of her. And it's
Scorpion Harley here in Chandler is the exact same way. You're traveling and something goes wrong and you stop in there, they're they're going to see your bags and go, yeah, you need to get on the road. They're going to put you in the front and get you going.
Well, Jim, I asked him, do we need to take your bags off? They're like, nope, leave them on. We'll take care of them.
Yeah.
And they changed her back tire with the everything on it still. We are running way over tonight.
Okay.
I would like to point out, if you look below the video there, I've got a bunch of merch for sale. That's how I pay for the channel, and that's how I pay, buy beers for people who are on my show. So, there was something I wanted to do. People have already left. Damn it. I think I still, no, I do not have your new address. I need your address so I can send you a bunch of shit.
Uh-oh.
Well, the duck, the bell, that's obviously we were supposed to get that in Florida. It's not happening. So I've got a few things here. I've got, let's see, I got some challenge coins from the Harley Davidson dealer here. I've got the Law Tiger kickstand plate. Got a Law Tiger keychain. What else I got here? Oh.
The guys from Law Tiger are pretty damn awesome with the stuff they give out. Shoot, man, you can't beat that. Poke chips.
Southern Thunder Poker Chip. I've got blue, green, red, and yellow. Dealer's choice. I'll send you a couple.
Got to get that board to start putting them on there. Oh, and you got to get the board too to start putting poker chips on.
Oh, I got the cool Law Tiger keychain too.
Nice.
And a beer cozy.
Tell you what, man, Law Tigers really, they're every employee at Law Tigers rides. Every one of them rides. So definitely credit to them.
All right, I got you a pile of shit. Text me your address. But look down below. I got t-shirts, mugs, coffee cups, all that cool shit. So we're going to go ahead and play good old number 6 here. So like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell, and I'll have a video for Monday because apparently that's my thing that I think I have to do. I keep myself honest, making videos for you guys. Changing the oil in the Street Glide tomorrow, so you'll see that on Monday's video. So